The following program deals with a controversial
subject.
The theories expressed are not the only possible interpretation.
The viewer is invited to make a judgment based on all available information.
The top talents in the comic book business are here to tell everything they know.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another Tuesday night here on Beyond Wednesdays, another industry of comics. This is episode 83, where
I don't even remember counting the last three.
yeah, 6 months ago, we had an interview that shook the world of comics. And at
You're
the
talking
time,
about Larry. You're talking about Larry Niobe, right? When we had him on the show,
Yeah. Here we go.
the whole industry
we
shook from that episode.
Yeah.
we heard rumors and things behind the scenes of people saying this is the interview that killed an $80 million deal. And we laughed about it. And we said, there's no way. Come on. There's no way.
Hold on. You know what? I meant to ask you this yesterday before we did this tonight. Do you know if that was monetized and how much you made off of that episode?
Not monetized. And I could tell you. Let me see here.
That's what it.
Go ahead.
Because the collective law industry made close to what, $50,000 to $100,000 off of that episode.
Oh, millions.
Well, yeah, and then one company made millions off of it.
Yeah, 8 million, 7 million, all that.
That's funny, man. So we're gonna
And you made $20 in super chats. Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could go back and look. It's probably a couple bucks at most. But we'll get into the interview here in a little bit. But we're gonna start off with a little news and notes around the industry. I want to talk about something that is big on our minds right now, and that is the Mark Spears Monsters and the Wolf blind bag delay, which shout out to everybody who follows Beyond Wednesdays. Here's the crazy thing about this. LUNAR sent out a message to all of the retailers that are on their email list. But from what I'm gathering, and I love, I always have Dennis in the back of my mind, Dennis and Jesse going, most retailers are idiots, Brian. And, you know,
I
have
stand by
never
that.
called them
I stand by
idiots.
that.
I said they were slow to the dance.
idiots.
Not idiots. I would never call retail.
They're slow
fellow
idiots.
retail
They're slow idiots who
I-
can't dance.
I have a list.
Yeah.
I have a list.
And probably most of them didn't check their emails, because the amount of retailers that told me, I didn't hear about this. I didn't hear
Yep.
about this. But what I will say is, thanks to everybody that follow Beyond Wednesdays and that sent me a message saying, Brian, thank you for talking about this, because I would have never known about it
Brian,
if I didn't watch Beyond
think
Wednesdays.
I broke it. I think I broke it to Mark.
Mm-mm.
I
No.
I got that email. I immediately forwarded the screen capture to him, and he said, I just woke up 5 minutes ago and give me a second.
Yeah, I was on the phone with them when that happened.
Oh, okay. So you got it right at the same time. Okay.
Yeah. So the crazy thing is that, again, the comics industry, you think you know everything about comics when you're a collector. And as I've said multiple times, you know nothing, young Padawan. You know nothing, as these guys have told me many times. And it's pretty ridiculous, the stuff that the people in the comic book industry, retailers, creators, have to deal with. And, you know, again, it could be better, it could be worse, but man, this is a bummer. And 2 weeks before the blind bags are about to hit the market, it gets announced that they are delayed due to printer issues. Now, here's the next big part of this. The smart retailers check their emails, and an email was sent out today from KeenSpot to everybody, I believe, that purchased the blind bags. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm guessing on that, and I'm usually, giving them the benefit of the doubt, which I shouldn't. So I'm hoping that they sent it to all the retailers that bought blind bags. The email states, "Greetings. As someone who has purchased the Mark Spears Monster and the Wolf blind bag from KeenSpot, we just want to send you an additional reminder that the street date for this title has been moved to October 15th. If you sell or open up blind bags earlier than October 15th at midnight PST, you will be in violation of the street date and will be subject to penalties. Here is the retailer advisory from LUNAR Distribution." So here is what LUNAR sent out to everybody. "Please be advised regarding Mark Spears' Monster and the Wolf blind bag. Due to an unexpected delay stemming from the complex amount of randomization of the 90-plus variant covers and bagging of each comic that is required, and as a result of only partial quantity being received this week, the release date of the title has been pushed back to 10/15. In order to maintain integrity of the launch of such an anticipated item, both the publisher and LUNAR have determined it is essential to hold the title until it can be allocated completely and fairly to all accounts. This ensures that all retailers receive their copies at the same time, protecting the fairness and impact of the release." In bold letters, any retailer who had planned on a midnight release for 10/8/2025 will now need to move the release date to 10/15/2025. Retailers who knowingly violate the new on sale date of 10/15 will face penalties. And then, of course, KeenSpot says, "Thank you as always for your support." So respect to KeenSpot and LUNAR for sending out said emails. There was another email that came out from LUNAR, which is also very interesting. Let me see, where is that email if I can find it. All right. LUNAR says, "To ensure a fair and consistent experience across all sales channel, brick and mortar retailers and live selling platforms, the following policy is being further clarified for all blind bag items for all publishers." Again, this is for all blind bag items for all publishers. "All blind bag products are strictly subject to their designated on-sale date. Accounts are prohibited from opening and displaying open blind bags for sale, promotion, or preview before the on-sale date." I'm going to repeat that. Opening and displaying open blind bags for sale, promotion, or preview before the on-sale date. Shipping blind bags to customers or third parties to be delivered prior to the on-sale date. Any violation of this policy will be considered a breach of account terms and will result in the loss of early delivery privileges. Loss of early delivery privileges, that's hard to put those three words together. Early delivery privileges means the account will be processed to receive product on the on-sale date. This policy is in place to maintain product integrity, ensure fairness across all accounts, and protect the consumer experience intended by the publisher and creators. So, what does this mean for Beyond Wednesdays and me and the fans of Mark Spears that are going to New York Comic Con? This means that I will not be handing out free blind bags for promotion at New York Comic Con. What does it also mean? It also means that anybody who gets blind bags, retailers that go back to LUNAR or KeenSpot for said product, you might want to be careful about even opening blind bags. I don't care if you say, "Hey, this means I just can't ship them to them." No, you can't even open them and show that you're opening them. So don't do it, because if you do, elephants never forget. And I'm sure that Mark Spears and KeenSpot and LUNAR are trying to act as elephants right now. So we'll see how that plays out. But
Brian.
You want to go first? You go first.
Yeah,
then.
yeah. I want to go first because I love crushing Brian's thoughts and dreams. There are retailers who ordered 4 figures worth of this product.
multiple.
For one reason and one reason only. So they'd have them at New York Comic Con. Okay. So they'd have them to live stream during New York Comic Con. So they'd have to sell at New York Comic Con. That was the intention of this product. And however they got that product, let's just say I am the account holder. Or no, let's say a legitimate real comic book store. Emmett is the legitimate. And if Emmett gets his early, but Emmett isn't allowed to sell, he doesn't want to lose his privileges. And I bought a bunch that I want to sell through an intermediary. But let's just say that Jesse has a table at New York Comic Con and Jesse didn't buy any of them legitimately. If I give them to Jesse to sell at New York Comic Con and Emmett gives them to Jesse to sell at New York Comic Con and Jesse is caught selling them at New York Comic Con, but Jesse doesn't even have a LUNAR account to be punished by, how is Jesse going to get punished?
No, Emmett's going to get punished.
Oh, how? How are they going to know Emmett gave them to Jesse?
Oh, that's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the point is these are going to be spoiled.
Yeah.
Because retailers are idiots and they don't care about as long as they get their bag, that's all they care about. They don't care about an industry. They don't care about a Mark Spears customer base. They don't care about Keen Spot. They care about money and being first to market. And they care about getting a hold of the FOMO.
Yeah.
So, first of all, that was hypothetical. I don't want to see this on any page saying
You're
that
not even going to New York.
I know, but that doesn't matter. Someone's going to splice this. And so I just want to make sure that's hypothetical. So when things like this happen, I am going to play, if I was an ant or a fly on the wall. So the first warning goes out, and all of a sudden, one party doesn't know what the other party is talking about. So they converse with each other. And then they do another meeting and an updated email saying, this is what we're going to do. The problem is you have some drug-dural store owners out there who still go out and bitch, and the conversation happens again.
By the way, for those of you guys who are not Italian and don't know the term jadrul, the term jadrul is used to describe a loser, a bum, or a stupid person. There we go.
Right, there you go. So what happens is then they go back and they say, yeah, but this is what we think is going to happen. And then you get the third email. And the third email is based on all these retailers and whoever, XYZ, getting involved and saying it's not fair for me, and it's going to be the other person's going to take advantage of this. So that's why we get 3 of these. And the third one is the final one. Why? Because LUNAR gets put on the spot by 10 or 15 or 20 people. Keen Spot gets up on the spot and they say, oh my gosh, we're getting hit by people because these guys don't respect Spears and they're going to F it up by putting a kink in the cog, and this is where we're at. So
can I add one more thing to that?
Yeah.
Well, before you do, let me give JSS Brooklyn a quick shout out. Thanks for the $9.99 super chat, my friend. We appreciate you, brother.
Yep.
Did they do this for Batman? Did they do this for Invincible?
No.
Did they do this for any of the other blind bags that have come out?
No.
Yeah, but
No.
you can kind
They're
of give
gonna
them
do it.
You can kind of give them the benefit on that because this is a new thing, right? I mean,
Right.
no.
No. Let me explain that to you. We didn't have the balls to say anything. We didn't feel we had anything to back us up. And then all of a sudden, the second time it happens. Now we're on the third time and people have invested a lot of money. Listen, 1,000 bags for me, that's a lot of money I have to invest in, right? opening up at midnight, hoping I'd sell the same thing everybody's selling that same day. So
and Emmett hired a caterer.
Yeah, and someone jumping out of the cake and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, I applaud people for getting in there and fighting the good fight. But we should be fighting good fights even before this happens, so that when the event does happen, we're not even discussing this.
Right.
Anyways, Emmett, go ahead. I'm sorry. I took some time away from you.
No, that's fine. I mean, I want to do cool events. This seemed like a really cool event. Now I'm very trepidatious.
Emmett, it was a cool event, but here's the problem. Back to what Brian said, Jesse and I say about this industry. I guarantee you a couple really big retailers had no idea that there was a midnight party sign up, and they missed the deadline.
A couple.
Yeah.
I'm being nice, Brian. I'm being nice because I call these people idiots. And when they found out that Emmett and Jesse and Dennis and Brian was going to be live and blah, blah, blah. And they pretend like they don't watch this show, but we know they do.
And
Okay.
Brian, you were saying earlier, though, about reading, if you're not reading your emails, it's impossible. My eBay is tied to my email. I have 1,000 items up there. Somebody asks me a question, I sell something, I get an email for each one of those.
Yeah, but
every single distributor plus every single publisher emails me almost daily.
yeah, but here's
It's
the thing
impossible
about
to read
that.
it all.
Here's the thing about that. Like, if we're gonna hold other retailers to task, put them to task for doing stuff, we're adults. We can set up special things in our email box to special things to say, hey,
Well, I tell
this,
everybody just watch the show.
Yeah.
That's how I get informed.
What's the number one thing you don't tell the judge?
I couldn't, but
Dennis,
yeah.
don't answer that. Dennis, don't answer that. Let me rephrase this. What's the number one thing you don't say to a judge? Judge, I didn't know what the law was.
Yeah.
Right.
And the judge is going to say,
No excuse for ignorance.
right, exactly,
law.
exactly. Your ignorance of the law does not excuse you from what you executed against the law. And I think that's where we are. So if you say, I didn't see the email, that's not LUNAR's fault.
No.
Check your freaking email. It does say advisory alert on it.
Well,
you might want to check that.
So anybody who plays Magic knows the rule, the stack. Okay, you have to look at the way the stack is and then start breaking this down. The first email came from LUNAR, okay, based on information given to them and only them by KeenSpot. Okay, so the first one came out. Okay, then the second one came out, which was the actual concern that the first email was actually about. I don't believe that bagging the stuff caused a 1 week delay. I think that the uproar caused the 1 week delay. And therefore, the second email came to reiterate what the other thing that they were really concerned about was being discussed, that retailers would open early and blah, 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 blah. And then the third one was also, you live sellers, you can't open them either.
Right.
Until street date.
Right.
So you look at the stack, the third email is the trump card on top of all of the other cards, which then exposes what the first email was actually all about.
Right. And keep in mind, I don't have anything to show you, but live streamers, as a longtime live streamer, like to brag about things they got coming up that other people don't have. And when you see people saying, oh my gosh, I know some of the country is getting XYZ, but I'm getting it on XYZ. So I have an advantage, right? So I think at the end of the day, if there wasn't any live streamers out there in the world, we wouldn't even be having this conversation, right? Because what would happen? Maybe someone sells it Monday night, Tuesday. But
to some of their regulars, right?
Right,
So
exactly.
regular or something.
Exactly. On just the drop date. So we really don't worry about it. It's like when I used to open up at midnight for free comic book day, no one bitched at me for doing that, even though technically we weren't supposed to do that. It is what it is. So I think this is something that we will learn from. Listen, we already know what's going to happen on the 13th. Some jamoke is going to be out there saying, hey guys, guess what I got? Rip away. Right?
Yeah.
There's nothing we can do about that person. But
by the way, for those of you who are not Italian, jamoke has two primarily meanings. It is an old-fashioned slang term for coffee, but that's not what Jesse is using it.
Yeah.
It's the idea that a foolish person is no more significant than a cup of coffee. So there you go.
There you go. Yep. And so I think that's where you're at. Brian, go ahead. You got the
Lord of Brooklyn with the $5 super chat says, an online LCS informed me that Diamond could not fulfill my pre-order of Penthouse Comics #1 Suspiria cover. Now, have you heard anything about this? No, but I love that Suspiria cover.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where we're at. We're going to play it by ear now. Listen.
That was out like 6 months ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, I got mine. So that's a great question.
Yeah, I sold out of all mine.
Yeah. So
Sold
at
really
the end of the day, we are going to see a momentum here, and hopefully it's a good thing. People's feet are held to the fire. Does it hurt certain people like Brian, who said, hey, I was going to do some promos? And yes, it does. But as a whole, as an industry, we have to kind of work as one when it's possible.
Yeah. Timothy, email me at beyondwednesdaysytc@gmail.com. There's the link in the
chat. And by the way, Brian, just FYI, I know you're really looking forward to this, but as a backup, I've been working on something that we might be able to announce the upcoming week that will replace the ability of the blind bags at New York Comic Con.
Oh, there we go. There you go. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Because at this point, yeah, I'm just going to hang out at New York now. The whole plan was going there to do that promotion and have some fun, hand out some freebies. But now I'm just going to hang out. So I have the time. I got time today and all that.
Yeah, there you go.
So, well, we'll see how this all plays out. It's going to be very interesting. I'm really hoping for Mark and, that everything else goes well, but we'll see. We are going to still be doing the live stream midnight opening. For those
Red Hood has a great little idea. You want to read it, Brian?
Yeah, just a second. For those of you who aren't doing the live stream anymore because you have to push it up a week, I understand. But for those of you guys who couldn't do it before because of New York Comic Con that may be able to do it now, make sure you reach out to us. That will be on the day of the 14th. So that night of the 14th will be the midnight release stream and events. Red Hood says, if a 1-of-1 is pulled live on stream before street date, it should not be honored. What are you talking about? Oh, yeah, I get you. If somebody else... That's a great point. It's going to... See, here's the thing. All these live streamers that are going to be opening them and stuff, it's going to be interesting to see if the live streaming platforms hit them with a slap on the wrist. Because here's the thing. The people that are going to be opening them, guess who's going to be getting videos of that and screenshots of that?
Yeah,
all
even
of
the
us.
promotion. There was well, if I was a fly on the wall, there was a thing out today where someone was searching all of eBay's extensions of shows all the way up to, I think, the 10th. And so, so listen, I think they need an example. This is the example there they have, and we'll see what happens. The person, listen, if we go through all this, it's not even the first. So we're talking about 15 freaking days. So if the 10th, the 12th comes and someone does it, they cannot say they have not been informed by anybody in the world. And at that point, they've disrespected the whole comic book industry, every retailer, Mark Spears, King Spot, distributors, everybody on this DS. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is.
I have one more. Not that I'm trying to put this voodoo into the universe. KeenSpot better hope they didn't F up the allocation on these two. I mean, if the first live streamer breaks Street Date, goes live and pulls 5 of the same books in a row or something horrible like that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would like to see, and I will write them a letter tomorrow. I would like to see eBay make it official. You cannot pull the bag off the screen.
Yeah.
That is happening way too much on eBay.
Oh, yeah.
We watched it. We watched it right here on the show.
We watched the live show. Yeah.
The Batman, where the guy opens the Batman, then takes it off and then brings it out. And we're like, what the fuck?
Well, that was like originally a big thing on Whatnot.
Yeah. It's still a thing. I still watch Rattle Pokemon, and he exposes at least one person a week still doing that.
That's cool. That I'll get to it in a second. Go ahead, Jesse.
So I would like to discuss something that you guys talked about last week that's very important for me to follow up on, which was Diamond opening up a new account. And so one of the things that happens through bankruptcy is you have to go through discovery. And when they go through discovery, what happens is you have to give them all your bank information. Forever long, they say, usually 2-3 years. They don't go through all of that, but 2-3 years, let's just say. So what your lawyer will tell you, the second that happens through discovery, you are to close those accounts and go open up a new account. You don't technically have to close it, but you would keep that. Let's just say you kept it open, but you wouldn't put any more money in that account because the only information they would have is the account numbers in discovery. So the reason why through bankruptcy you're supposed to open up another account is those accounts cannot be attached to your bankruptcy. Obviously, the only person that can go into your account without knowing your bank account, obviously, is the IRS. So they're not competing with the IRS. So that was why the second accounts were open. Now, they were supposed to do this 6 months ago, not last week or the week before. So again, kind of slow. I know banks move kind of slow sometimes when they want some information when they're opening up a new bank account for a business. It would be very interesting if the new business was a S Corp, C Corp, LLC, proprietary. That would be very interesting there. So anyways, that is the reason why the second account was open, to avoid any legal issues of your bank account being known by the people trying to get money from you.
So for those of you guys, I see Three Rivers comment saying I had 20 Batman bags, got 10 of the same cover. I believe it's the same distributor. So I don't think the distributor is the one that does the randomization. It's at least for the Mark Spears Monsters and the Wolf blind bag. It's the printer that's supposed to be doing the randomization. That's why they asked for an extra week to make sure that the randomization is done correctly.
And that is on the printer and the publisher first and foremost. Because I mean, honestly, the distributor is just supposed to open the box and hand product times 20 to customer A. Product times 10 to customer B. They're not supposed to worry about the collation. The collation is supposed to already be done beforehand.
Yep. And that's what's going to happen with McDonald's at Monopoly. And that's going to happen, right? Crazy. Your buddy goes in. Well, never mind. I'm not going to tell you guys the secrets of this.
Watch that documentary.
Yeah. Your buddy goes in the front door, asks for the manager, and yells at the delivery man for putting his truck in front of his car. And while those two are arguing, guess who's in the back taking Monopoly boxes? Protect those Monopoly boxes. Anyways.
More Diamond news real quick. There is word that Dynamite might have had a small win in court that could be meaning they could get some of the money that's owed to them. So Bleeding Cool is reporting that Dynamite gets a minor victory over its $500,000 claim against Diamond. It says here, as part of Diamond Comics' ongoing Chapter 11, comic book publisher Dynamite has secured a court order for an expedited hearing on its motion to compel discovery from Diamond Comics distributors, the debtor in this process. This is not to be confused with the AdPop SparklePop division, which now calls itself Diamond Comics Distributors 2. The move,
Deuce.
yeah, the deuce. Move comes amid Dynamite's attempts to define certain monies owed by Diamond, the debtor, over $500,000 as an administrative claim, and thus more easily and quickly payable and granted priority over the other claims in the bankruptcy process. As these debts by Diamond to Dynamite were made after the bankruptcy protection had been launched, this would be out of a total debt owed by Diamond to Dynamite for over $1 million. So basically what this is saying, and I'm asking you guys if I'm reading this correctly, that for the $500,000 that Dynamite is saying is an administrative claim, that $500,000 will get paid before any other debtors, including the number one spot holder, which is the bank.
Well, that's not what the motion was for. The motion was for
to hear about it. But if it happens, it means that $500,000 will go to Dynamite before anybody else is paid.
Right. So the motion that they won was to explain unexplained part of discovery. That's all they won.
An expedition to talk about that before all the other things get talked
right.
about.
Exactly. So they technically, that's all. There's nothing here that literally talks about the $500,000. It's getting Diamond's lawyers to explain the unexplained part of the thing. This is so effed up. We are better. We are so better. I love Bleeding Cool. I've been with Bleeding Cool since the beginning of time, or my time. I've written over 100 articles on Bleeding Cool. I wish there wasn't a day by day article about this. I think if this is one of those, the less we know, the more informed we would be. But because we're getting all these tiny little things, it's confusing people on what is actually happening. And so, anyways, this is just.
And by the way, am I the only one that imagines these court cases with Dynamite's counsel, Justin Fasano? Hey, Your Honor, I wore this ridiculous thing for you. My client, Nicky Barucci, is over here. He's owed 500 stacks. And where's our stacks at, Your Honor?
Yeah. What you wearing? What do you mean?
Suit.
A suit.
Made out of cloth.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're crossing our fingers. Hopefully people get paid in this. That's all that needs to happen. People who are owed money should get their
exactly
money.
in the end. And I think what happens when you get into procedural things, it's kind of boring, right? But sometimes boring makes your brain think way too far.
What I think is when the Justice Society of Publishers tried to do this as the ad hoc committee, and they tried to bundle all these things to get a bundled answer, and then the court said, no, F that, you're all on your own again. Sure. Now it's 50 different lawyers all filing motion to get ahead of the line.
This will be around for so long. The only people that
I thought it was going to be over
are going to be the lawyers.
Right. Yep. Yeah. And what's funny about that, when you say 50, there's probably only about 5 or 10 companies that can afford a lawyer at this point.
Well, you'd think Image could, but Image is taking a deal.
Image took a deal.
Yeah, they took a deal a while ago. They're just finalizing it. Why? Because they're smart. You got to get in, get out, and move on.
Mm-hmm. Are you going to pay your lawyer for 4 or 5 years and then get the same amount that you would get if you just went in and said, hey, what are you going to give us? 50 cents on the dollar, 10 cents on the dollar. Give us a number. Write us a check.
Yep.
Let me
Yeah.
go to
Be happy at 25 cents a dollar. If they can go in and get 25 cents a dollar and call it a day,
Woo.
they are in good
Winners.
freaking shape.
Yeah, winners.
Yep.
I
Well,
think if they could get 15 cents on the dollar, they would be winners.
Yeah.
Speaking of winners in the Diamond bankruptcy debacle, that brings us to our main story of the night. We need to give a little recap about what happened 6 months ago. We had heard that the Diamond sale was approved to a company called Alliance Entertainment, another distribution company that specialized in music distribution and was getting their hands into the collectible distribution game. And as soon as we heard it, it sounded glorious. It sounded amazing. And we reached out to Bruce Ogilvie to see if he would like to come on and talk about this. Bruce Ogilvie being one of the main, what would you call him, CEOs of Alliance Entertainment. And he said yes, to everybody's surprise. And it was a bombshell of an interview that we are going to be going over tonight for the first time in 6 months, because in the next morning following this interview, we all received calls of panic saying, can you please take down this interview? Our lawyers are asking if you can take down this interview for 3 days, because after 3 days, everything will be approved and you could put the interview back up.
Right.
That was 6 months ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it should be said that Brian in good faith did that. He honored the request, and I think that's very, very important. And that's very, very important to say that before we actually show this, that this was in good faith, that it was taken down and stayed off this.
And luckily, we took it down so that every lawyer who saved it and every reporter who saved it and did a transcript of it, and they all got the monetization on their stories of our transcript. The only persons that didn't get the benefit of the earth-shattering interview was these guys right here.
Yeah. Yeah. So
everyone else got to benefit from it but us.
Well, I think through all of us talking about all this, we kind of realized that Alliance Entertainment, kind of owes us a little something, because if it wasn't for this interview, they would be in SparklePop's position and be dealing with all this bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So what we're going to do tonight, you guys, is for the first time in 6 months, we are going to replay the interview with pauses along the way. It is a form of entertainment on YouTube called Every Frame a Pause, which there is an acronym for called EFAP, which is also a slang term for beating off.
Monkey.
For spanking the monkey. Yeah, so tonight we all EFAP the Bruce Ogilvie interview. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get started. Here we go. Anytime you guys want me to stop something, just ask me and I will pause it and we will make comments on it. So here we go, you guys. Let's start it off with the intro.
And let's introduce Bruce Ogilvie from Alliance Entertainment.
Bruce, thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Excellent.
Wow, that's your warehouse?
Yeah, well, I'm not physically at that, but that's a picture of our warehouse. Those are a bunch of CDs behind me. That picture was taken up on the third floor of our, well, actually the fourth floor of our mezzanine that we have there, looking down on the third floor of the mezzanine we have.
Okay, wow. So first of all, Jesse, you've been to at least one of the Diamond warehouses, right?
Yep.
Okay, I've been to one of the Diamond warehouses, two of the Alliance warehouse, the Diamond Games warehouses. None of them look this organized. First of all, that was my first thought when I saw this. This is an efficient machine that is in no way, shape, or form indicative of our industry.
It's amazing. When we
what's funny about this, I actually thought this is they used this during the NFL playoff seasons for the Cowboys, since they never use it during the playoffs, and that's what I thought it was. Just for you Cowboy fans out there, just so you
I
know.
saw your guys' webpage, and we saw the warehouses and everything working. We saw your workforce and everything. It was just like, oh, that warm feeling. Okay, we got. What just happened there?
I didn't do anything.
Then there we go. We got something interesting working here. Can you talk us a little bit about how you feel today, Bruce? I mean, this is pretty a big deal.
Well, it is a big deal. It's definitely reading social media and reading all the news reports today. And, I watched you guys last week. You piqued my interest, who the bidders might be. So let's see what these guys have to say. So
Right.
I listened to you for 3 hours there and learned a lot that I didn't know about the business, which I greatly appreciated there.
And ladies and gentlemen, we come to major statement part 1. I listened to you guys last week to hear about maybe who the bidders might be, and I learned a lot of information after listening to you guys for 3 hours, which is very interesting.
That is very interesting. I would hope that he would learn more stuff from his lawyers and some of the discovery stuff and maybe some of the paperwork, but that's all good, right?
Well,
and I do want to state that Brian has changed his shirt between this article. It's not him wearing the same shirt every show, just FYI. So go ahead.
I'll just add, we watched all the coverage for the weeks and months before this announcement. We were the only ones that were even close to discussing the numbers and the actual process. So I'm sure if he watched other shows in our sphere, he didn't get anything like he was getting with us talking to Rich Johnson the week before. And that just kind of shows that this is the guy who's about to spend $80 million, just offered $80 million for our industry. And he watched us to find out what was behind the curtain on the other side that he was buying. He had already bought it, in his opinion.
Yep. All right. Can you tell us about Alliance Entertainment and how Alliance Entertainment was grown and in the history of the company?
Sure. So me personally, I started selling music at the swap meets in 1978. And I was buying from a distributor, and I got the bright idea that I should become a distributor so I can, do a better job than the current distributor I was buying from. So I convinced all the record companies back in 1980, and I started a company called Abbey Road Distributors, and then grew that to about $94 million in revenue. And when I was in college, as I attempted to go to college, I did learn how to program. And so the one thing I did in my operation in the 80s is I bought a computer system that somebody else had for a music distributor that went out of business. And then I just learned the source code and looked at the source code and made changes. And then I wrote a warehouse, order picking system there. I had AR inventory and GL, but I didn't have order entry and a way to pick orders faster and more efficient. So I've always been kind of a gearhead in that area there, and I was mainly motivated like anybody when you own your own business. What can I do to make my business more efficient, and how do I lower costs, and how can we become more profitable? Because with profits, you grow. We don't want to own a business that's expensive. Real quick.
So basically, this guy is just a fan like Jesse, Emmett, me, you. And he saw an opportunity to take an industry that he loved and was participating in and figure out how to make it more efficient, more dependable, better to operate. And I can tell you, in the 20 years that I dealt with Diamond, I don't think they ever attempted something like that with their own industry.
Yeah. All right, let me fix some sound issues very quick here. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, and I think some of the issues with that is when Diamond was the monopoly, they didn't have to do that.
Right.
No one was pushing the buttons to say, "Oh, you got to do this better," other than the retailers yelling.
Yeah, other than the only customers Diamond had.
Yeah,
But they don't have to listen to their customers when they're the only place in town.
Right? Exactly.
Customers. I think that the pull box, I know how much you hated the pull box, but I think the pull box was the one attempt they made, but I think it was too late. I think they were too late on that. That if they had come up with that 10, 15 years ago, we would have a lot less closed comic shops, and they might still be around.
All right, here we go.
Hobby. We want to own a business that makes money, we can grow, we can expand there. So word got around within the industry that there was this young guy in California that had a system for the one-stops. And back in those days, there was probably about 30 different one-stops, distributors who just distributed music. So I ended up computerizing about seven different companies like what we did in California. Certainly learned a lot about these companies and how they all operate and how they grow and operate, which made me better and smarter, understanding the business better and understanding distribution there. So then I sold my company in 1994, worked for the people that bought me out for a year, soon remembered all the reasons why I'd forgotten why I started my own business, got involved with left them, got involved with a couple startups. They're still in business today. But it was a great time in my life because I kind of went on a sabbatical. I had a covenant not to compete. And, I got involved with all kinds of volunteer work. And I was a soccer dad, coach, referee, did the ASO website, Nation Chief, Indian Guides, all that stuff. But around 2001, I decided I need to get back. My covenant not run. And so I joined my partner today, Jeff Walker. He's 10 years younger than me. He graduated from UCI. I lived in California, Southern California at the time there. And they wanted to open up a record store. So they came knocking on our door in 1991. That's how I met them. And then in 2001, when I was looking to get back in the action, I reconnected with them there and joined them. And they went from being a retailer and they became a one-stop, a distributor. And of course, they went through the whole CD, explosive growth of CDs, which got started in the 80s. And their first store was called CD Listening Bar, which was basically a record store that had a bartender. And you go in there and we had CD players. And this is before we had listening stations. And when we had, and their vision was that you could listen to it before you buy it. And I thought that was pretty clever on their part at the time there, knowing where the industry was and retailers I'd seen. So, we helped them out. We helped them expand and get involved with the record companies and find a way to grow bigger and become very smart. So in 2001, when I was looking for where I wanted to go, I joined them. And they were doing, like I said, about $18 million a year in revenue. And then, the industry was changing, distributors come and go. So we kind of took advantage of the retailers that went out of business and grew the business. And Jeff and I were able to grow it all the way up to 2020 to about 1.4 billion in revenue. But that was through.
So as you can see, over the years, they have been they're very good at buying bankrupt companies and rebranding or doing whatever. This is their deal. They were perfect for this, it felt like, especially at this time of this interview.
Yeah.
So.
Like a dozen hackers.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Taking companies that want people who want to sell or diversify. We always had a belief that we started out in music and we could see the whole handwriting on the wall with Napster, where it was going, where the industry was going. And we said, we got to diversify because we're going to lose sales over time there. And so we really leaned in heavy in the movie. We actually went into imports. We bought 2 import companies, one in 2003, one in 2007. Imports was people always had a higher perceived value of imports, that it was a better value. The Japanese version was better than the American version.
Yep.
The UK version. You go over to Japan, they think the American version is better. But we had a great selection of imports there. And then in 2010, we bought a company that was very big in movie studios with the movie companies. That got us really heavy in the video movies. Then we made the jump into video games. That was 2018. We bought it as a distributor. The reason we buy these companies, it's very hard to get open as a distributor. You can't call up the door and say, if I try to call Bandai up and they say, we would be a card distributor for you, they laugh at us.
Yeah.
But it's a whole lot easier when you buy the company and the relationships that are already in place. And as long as you can keep things going, make sure.
I knew I was going to say the exact same thing you were going to say, I bet.
And he thought he was getting a Magic the Gathering supplier.
You got it. You got it. But here's what's funny about this. Here's what's funny about all this. You know, in hindsight, you know, they did AENT is standing at the top of the freaking king of the hill on this whole debacle, because not only did they go in, get out when they, you know, they were pissed when they didn't get chose, even though they were the highest bidder, but they won on that. And two, they went and got all the employees that they wanted from Diamond and brought them over to AENT anyways.
Yep.
Can I also add something here while we're in the middle of this pause? AENT stock, when we had this interview, was at $4 a share. A few things happened along that way. It dipped to $2 a share, but AENT right now, today, is at 6.81 a share.
Wow. There you
It's
go.
gone up close to 65% since this interview.
There you go.
And since they did not take on Diamond's sinking ship.
I wonder, did they just pick the employees that would help them with their current business, or when are they going to exploit the expertise of those employees?
I think they're already doing that. I mean, they got Schimmel, and we saw Schimmel there. You and I saw Schimmel.
Yeah. He told us a
Schimmel
couple of things that excited me.
He was at making San Diego. He was making deals at San Diego. He was making deals before that.
Yep.
You're financially
But
responsible.
for what? Are we talking toys? Are they going to get heavier into toys than they already are?
We can't talk about the thing that Schimmel told us.
No, not that thing. I'm asking about toys. That's not what he told us about.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. So who are they going to make a deal with? NECA, who it was their competitor?
No.
Maybe they're making deals with that nacelle company, or, you know, there's a whole lot of people that Schimmel knows on that floor that Diamond didn't have deals with, but that are unattached to the people who bought Diamond. And Schimmel knows those guys, and he probably couldn't make a deal at the Diamond period, but now he can make a deal at the AENT level.
Right.
Strong. They'll stay with you and then we'll do business with you. So that's kind of the story to our success there.
Right.
Okay, I have one. My first question is really stupid, but you were in California in the 70s and you had a record store. How important and accurate is Record City, the movie? Do you remember that Ed Begley Jr. record store? I fully California record culture.
Yeah, because I don't even think you knew
Tower
it, right?
Records and all of that.
Well, you always had your very strong independent music stores in the 70s and 80s. At Aaron's Record, they were the leader in LA there. Penny Lane, a lot of great, strong independent record stores that we've dealt with over the years. But the marketplace was dominated by chains.
Yeah.
Plus, you had Warehouse, you had Sam Goody, you had Tower. And Tower was the gold standard as far as selection.
Yeah.
And we like to think of ourselves today that our customer is the customer that goes into Tower Records.
Yeah.
And everybody who likes streaming, they went into Music Plus or Warehouse and got this couple of hits. And there. So,
Suncoast movies. Sure.
Yes.
You know,
Suncoast, yeah. Yeah.
So I have my first question might be a little bit more technical than Dennis's. From 1978 to 2025, based on what you talked about, technology has really helped you out. How do you manage that as fast as technology comes in, and how does that relate to your business?
Are you talking about, the introduction of the compact disc and now streaming?
I'm talking about your business as far as how you do your warehousing.
Oh,
you keep your computers up to date, your clientele.
Yeah, in the old days, when a record store would sell something, they'd write it down on a piece of paper, and then every time they made a sale, they just write the next thing they sold. And they have a paper with this, but all this scribble, but they have cap 111163. You know, people, that's people with Dark Side of the Moon. They would write it all down, and then before we had quip machines, they'd have to call it in to somebody over on the phone. That person would listen to them, and they would transfer it on the same sheet there. But they would as they called it in, they would write it on the paper by the different labels that there was. So you had, A&M, you had EMI, you had Chrysalis, Electro Asylum, Geffen, and so they would read you the number, and then you, as a person that was taking the order over the phone, you would make sure you put it on the right label. So when you dropped that order to the warehouse, the guy'd have to walk around the warehouse and find that and pick it, and then pick the order there. But you had to know how to price it, you had to know how to package, ship it, and all that there. The guys that did the billing were the smartest guys, because they could look at a record, they knew what the price code meant. They knew the price code. They had to get a label out there. Is that an 898 or 798 or 598, or that's a WIA 5, and that costs more than the Sony 598. So they did that. So as far as how to make us more efficient was, you can now, as people they could call in their order, and as they read it, you just type it into the computer. And I had all the function keys on the keyboard there, and F1, F2, F3. I think F1 was A&M, F2 was Arista, and maybe CBS was F3. I'm just going by memory from many, many years ago. And that would save the person from typing in the abbreviation. And all I have to do is put 11163 and then F4 for capital, and boom, it's in there, and it would just bring it up. And then it was just a matter, okay, do you want an 8-track or you want a cassette? Because that's all we're pushing in those days there. 2 columns. When the CD came along, that became, we put a CD in front of the abbreviation is the way we put it in our system there. We handled it there.
Well, and those numbers are really important because, I think I told you in our phone call that I just opened up I had been hoarding vinyl for 20 some years. And then I opened up my first store over vintage vinyl 2 years ago. And all of those little numbers that I never paid attention to the whole time that I was loving vinyl, and those all mean something. And I was just like,
number, yeah. Old timers know what they mean.
Yeah, but it blew me away that those numbers were all on every album I ever had, and they actually meant something.
Yeah.
Because that's how the studio got paid, was seeing those numbers.
Yeah, but before there was barcodes, there was no barcodes on the product.
Yeah.
So all you had was the label, and then you had the selection number on the spine. And then when the CD came along, like Dark Side of the Moon was 11163, and Capitol makes a CD. Let's call that now 46001. Great.
I love that you have this detailed memory about this. This is
Bruce, Bruce,
sorry, go ahead. Right.
Did the there was this big thing that happened at some point where vinyl became super collectible. Was that one of the things that made you look to the collectibles market? Like, what was the thing that made you, as a music distribution and an old record store, record store company, a record store owner, kind of pivot to the collectibles market? Because that's where we
it's not downloadable.
There you go. Boom. Yeah.
You can't stream it. It's physical media. And the other thing is that we always wanted to draft off of somebody else's money. So when you have a record label and you have a new movie, you have a new video game, they're going to spend a ton of money on advertising. So maybe we can't make any money selling that new release, but we can sell all the associated collectibles items to it. It creates a bundle, but they're just drafting, going along for the ride, because that's what people are into.
Yeah,
it's free promotion there. So that's the trick. Is new releases are great. It gets people in the store.
And I'm not trying to, beat the dead horse. That's what I was begging Diamond to do. I'm like, how is it that 20 million people are watching The Walking Dead and the source material is only selling 200,000? And it's because they were happy selling the 200,000 to the 1,200 retailers, and that was it.
Yeah. What could they have done better? Dennis, I'm not sure what they should have done better.
I don't know what they could have, but I just don't see them. I didn't see them trying beyond selling the product to the retailer and putting, you know, hey, go to comic shop locator on The Talking Dead. You know, there was something else that we could have done. You know, we could have.
In the old days, they used to be a lot of co-op and tag stores.
Yeah, they ended
That's
a
not
lot
so
of
much
that.
anymore. Not so much of that money anymore goes on.
Yeah.
That I've seen.
So
go ahead, Jesse.
So I'll go. So let's get up to date. So when did you say, hey, we got this company in Baltimore that is going up for auction? It's in bankruptcy. That kind of sounds like something our company would want to be part of. What was that process?
Well, we've had for 20 years, all we've done acquisitions. That's how we got to where we were at. We kind of slowed down in 2020. That was our last big acquisition we did. That was Kokum, and not because anything was bad about Kokum. Kokum was a great acquisition, a great company, a lot of great people. But we got this bright idea that how can we grow faster? You know, what can we do? So we were getting approached by a lot of companies that wanted to merge with the SPAC. And so we decided to go down that path. In 22, I think is when we started that process there, in like late 21. And so that distracted us quite a bit from acquiring any other company or doing anything. And going public is a big challenge and responsibility. It's not easy. It takes a lot of resources. It's very expensive to do. I can't say it was good or bad yet. The jury's still out on it. But I think we had a 5-year vision that if it took us 20 years to get to 1.4 billion at our peak, as a public company, could we do it in 5? And so I count this as year 1 of that 5-year plan.
Oh, wow, great.
Okay? And so last year we were spending most of the year looking for opportunities and things. We have lots of conversations going on with other companies. And then I was at an investor conference, and I was talking to somebody from the industry. I don't want to tell you their name, because, but they tipped me off that I mean, I knew of Diamond, but I didn't know much about Diamond. Now people who work for me know all about Diamond, but I didn't know much about it. And so I heard that they were possibly going to bankruptcy. They weren't in.
That's a big statement right there. For those of you guys that didn't hear it, you're on mute, Dennis. For those of you guys that didn't hear it,
that was the one that launched 1,000 subpoenas.
Yeah, I bet.
So let me replay that for you guys again.
I don't want to tell you their name, because, but companies. And then I was at an investor conference, and I was talking to somebody from the industry. I don't want to tell you their name, because, but they tipped me off that I mean, I knew of Diamond, but I didn't know much about Diamond. Now people who work for me know all about Diamond, but I didn't know much about it. And so I heard that they were possibly going to bankruptcy. They weren't in bankruptcy, but possibly going in. And then I heard that Raymond James was running the process. Raymond James didn't reach out to us. We had to kind of, muscle our way in to get invited to get at the table. And so we kind of battled our way through that. And we tried to treat it like, could we just buy the company and not go into bankruptcy? Because bankruptcy is just very expensive and very disruptive. And the truth is, this unsecured creditors don't get a lot of money on the dollar. I've sold to a lot of retailers that filed bankruptcy, and I've been on the other end for years, getting only 20 cents or 30 cents on the dollar.
Right.
And we just felt that it would be better for the trade if we could just buy it and get everybody 100 cents on the dollar and go forward. But
wow, that was a big statement, and everything he said right there, you looking back on it, that's a big deal of everything he just said there, right? I mean, talking about how, we just didn't even want to deal with the bankruptcy. We want to just try and get in there and just buy everything and get out. And, what's funny is I've been hearing for about a year now, if not a little bit longer, that there were multiple times where the sale was thought to have gone through, and then something happened in the world to change it, where they said, okay, we got to wait till after this is going down to do the sale, and then they just couldn't wait any longer, so then they had to go bankrupt. So there was multiple people out there who were trying to buy Diamond that would have bought it without having to deal with this bankruptcy stuff, but it got messed up along the way somewhere, which is very interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So
we couldn't control that. It was being run by Raymond James, and it was on its own. There was the train had left the
Pause
station
real
for
quick.
that to try and deviate.
Now, in hindsight, I almost wonder if the lawyers weren't the ones that did not want the sale to go through because there's less money to be made in a purchase than in a bankruptcy.
I don't know. Well, he did say, when bankruptcy gets involved, everything gets messy.
Yeah. And if they were willing to buy it outright at whatever the price was then to keep all this from happening, but the lawyers insisted that it go through this lengthy process, it makes you wonder, back to Rich Johnson's story, was the fix in before all of this happened? And Bruce stuck his nose where it was not wanted. And that's why all of this shit happened because of it.
Well, what's funny, Dennis, is I had multiple little birdies sit on my shoulder and tell me, hey, we're hearing Universal is buying Diamond.
Yep.
Way before any of this happened.
Oh, I know.
So, all right, here we go.
So we had to be patient and wait till they filed bankruptcy. It didn't happen until January 6th.
Right.
And then that started the clock. There was a stalking horse bidder, everybody knows, was Universal Distributors. A fine
Wouldn't
company.
it have been better if they bought it before they went into bankruptcy?
Yeah, that's what he's saying, that they wanted to do it before it went into bankruptcy. He heard, remember he said a little birdie at that investment council told him Diamond was in trouble and he wanted Diamond. He wanted what Diamond had.
Because it's a lot less messier if you come in and buy it.
But he said, I don't know if we want to go back and forth, but he says in there, but the lawyers wanted it to go into bankruptcy for the even bidding process or something to that extent.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
All right.
I think, I think it's because they make more money when it goes the messy way.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
All right, here we go.
And then that started the clock. There was a stalking horse bidder, everybody knows, was Universal Distributors, a fine company. I didn't know Angelo from Adam there. Talked to him one day. He was very nice, very talkative, very friendly, open book. And I only talked to him once, and I heard all his opinions about everything. And I didn't tell him if we're going to do it or not do it. I didn't say anything, and I never talked to him again. And then we had to, everybody had access to the data room who was a qualified bidder and met the requirements. Everybody had to sign very strict NDAs and do all, which is normal in this type of situation there. You have to bring in advisors and people to assist you and help you because it's a very complicated process there. And so, we wanted to be the stalking horse, but we just couldn't get comfortable with the numbers that we did. Hindsight wise, we should have just bellied up the bar and became the stalking horse, but it didn't. It probably cost an extra $1.3 million because we didn't do that.
So there you go again. Hindsight 2020. He says, "Hey, we should have just bought it outright. It would have cost us, a little less than $1 million, $1.3 million of what at the time they were thinking was the final bid." But holy cow, man! You watch this and you just think to yourself, "Damn, did they miss a bullet on this one, man?"
Because you get overbid protection,
right?
And which it looks like that's what's going to happen. If the court certifies the auction, the procedure they handled yesterday, that's how it'll turn out for Universal, assuming we close the transaction.
So what did you see aside from, big warehouse in Olive Branch, 1,200 so store accounts, 1,200 so direct accounts for online and et cetera. Was there anything else that just was like?
Well, it's a natural evolution of what we are.
Right.
We were a Funko distributor for years. We buy from Hasbro, Lego, Mattel. We bring figurines in, but it's a very small part of our business. 50 million at most out of our 1.1 billion, and so this would get us a big leapfrog into an area there, and you want to either go big or go home, right?
Right.
It's the same amount of work buying a $50 million company as a $300 million company, so you might as well put your revenue in a $300 million company because the cost associated and everything there, it's just better to do that. And it also, whenever we buy first thing, it opens new relationships with new suppliers. We think that's very, very important. Part of it is diversify or die. It's really that simple.
Yeah.
We want to take profits in the good times and invest in other areas because we want to be around for a long time. We don't want to be a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
People who don't pivot and diversify have gone out of business. I've seen that happen to a lot of distributors.
That was a great moment in this interview, right? I mean, there ever was a statement in there that we have been
and it's
on
not just
since
that;
the beginning.
it's on so many levels. The retailers don't want to diversify. That's all we talk about on this show. The publishers don't want to diversify. They wanted Universal because they didn't trust this guy to do what they wanted. There were so many levels where an old dying business model wanted to keep things the exact same way that just put them in this situation. This was the only guy that was offering something completely different.
Yeah.
Well, I think the real thing that ended Diamond was the carrying all that debt for all the retailers who would never pay it.
Well, yeah.
I mean, because they were diversified. I bought a lot of different stuff from Diamond. But the problem was that everybody kept believing in this store exclusive. The next one will get me right. The next one will get me even. The next one will get me even. And they just go deeper and deeper in debt. And then none of them ended up having to pay it. I mean, word has been that they're going to get them, but it looks like they're all going to get off scot-free for that. So that's like somebody handing your business, for a small guy who tried to do it 30 grand, 40 grand for these big guys over $1 million. What if somebody handed you $1 million and, hey, for your business to increase your business, here's $1 million. Go do what you can and see how much money you can make. And all of them are still crying poverty and their hands out. They were given $1 million.
All right, here we go.
Over the years, Ingram Entertainment, same thing.
Yeah.
They didn't diversify enough there, and they had to shut it down there. So we didn't want to be that company. So we just try and diversify, and this is a way for us to diversify, get in. Once again, if I talk to investors, all like, oh my God, who buys a CD? When are you guys going out of business? How come your sales don't grow? How come your gross margin's so small?
Right.
All those kind of things. And so now we can make a statement. Look, this is collectibles. You can't download this. You can't stream it. People love collecting stuff.
Well, I want to tell you a quick story. There's something about this new generation. My daughter is 19. My son is 21. They have such a crazy attraction to what we think is garbage from our past. There was a run on little 5.0 megapixel digital cameras for about 2 months, about a year ago. And I just couldn't believe it. I was like, you're insane. Why do you want this? Oh, because, our cameras take these really nice pictures and we'd like to see some old style pictures.
Right. Well, Polaroid cameras too. Look at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
That's been for
Exactly.
4 years. That's been a market.
That's correct. That's
Yeah.
correct.
How do you look at the interlocking of Alliance and Diamond? Is the interlock two separate companies, or is that going to eventually blend into each other? Are you then
Realistically,
houses?
to be most efficient and work on his strengths, all the inventory really needs to be in the same building. Amazon doesn't operate that way. They got one big building, 1 million square feet, and they got a big, huge selection of. They break it down small, medium, and large warehouse facilities there. They don't have and that's how they break the product. And by having all those products, you can get more products in the box. You get more efficiencies. Your freight cost as percentage goes down. So you want to have, and that makes us really a supplier that these large chain retailers want to do business with, because we have such a wide selection of different products there. And we can be their entertainment specialist there. They don't have to have any expertise.
Yeah, one of the things that a lot of people are worried about from our viewer base are small indie press publishing, houses for comics, indie press creators. These guys who were, weren't the DC or the Marvel creators that were putting out, 1 or 2 books, their self-owned stuff through Diamond, and can't get on with the bigger distributors or the distributors that are there now, LUNAR and Penguin Random House. Do you have any thought process on how you guys are going to handle comic distribution? Are you guys going to distribute comics for those creators and those independent press publishers? Major moment coming up here that everybody has been talking about. I believe is coming up here soon. So
yeah.
Well, I haven't spoken with the team yet because we're not really allowed to, but I want to hear what they say and what can we do to fix this business. And I don't have the answers yet, but I just know that how it's currently being run is not working.
Amen. That's a big deal. That's a big deal, Bruce. That's something that we're very positive about over here, is that, you're coming in here, Alliance and AENT is coming in here, and they care enough to hear what's going on, to see if it's something that they can fix. And maybe comics and wasn't your number one reason to come in here, but your open mind to it and figuring out what can be done and if we can do it correctly. That's a big deal. That's a positive.
From everything I've read and what I've been hearing, what I physically saw, there's just not enough volume, for the amount of labor involved. We don't like to sell $5 CDs and $5 DVDs because we can't make any money on it.
Wow. That right there was one of the biggest,
most
statements.
Quoted line in the entire interview.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only problem is that because he doesn't know, I don't think he knows what the margins are on the comics yet. I mean, they didn't own the business. So I don't, he made that statement, but I think he didn't have enough knowledge. The stuff that he has knowledge of have no fucking margins. He's taking them all. Right? When it gets to me, there's no money. There's nothing left on the bone.
I think he understood. So let's go back to what he said. He says later that everything he pushes through his warehouse has to make 99 cents. That's it's a quote later in the interview.
Right.
At the margins that they operate on a $10 Funko Pop, they're making that 99 cents plus. So I think he knew that comic books were a publisher sells it for $2, retailers buy it for $3. We make somewhere in the middle of that, less than 99 cents. He wanted to get our industry up to a place where that 99 cents is baked into the price of what the publisher sells it to them for and what the retailer buys it from them for. And that's where I think he was basically what his statement was over this 2 or 3 part explanation. I think he knew.
Yeah,
But they could have easily done that with a 5%. Instead of giving us 50%, give us 45%.
Well, but you can't, because now Philbo's trying a 40%, and he's got freaking a-holes
Look.
like Adam Freeman screaming at him that
Look,
he needs
DC
50.
gives me 35%.
And they don't pretend. The bigger people pretend that 5 to 10% that you're willing to accept is not what they want.
right. I think a couple keywords. First of all, I want to say if I'm on hold with someone for 7 hours and you call me back during the live show after 7 hours and I say, listen, I've been on hold for 7 hours, you better say I apologize.
Oh no, you better.
They did not apologize. That's why I had to turn the screen off, because even with mute, you guys would have heard me. So anyways, what Bruce said was a very simple thing. What I have been hearing, what you have been hearing, you're not the guy in the dock. You're not the janitor. You're the head honcho. So you shouldn't be hearing anything. You need to be seeing. You need to say, show it to me. Don't tell me, show it to me. If you're talking about CDs at $5, are you telling me your cost is $4 for that CD? So you're only making 99 cents? No, your cost isn't that.
Actually, I think it's the other way, Jesse. I think their cost is $3. They make the 99 to push it around the warehouse, and they sell it to the customer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And that's where Emmett had the problem, was they only had a 20% margin for Emmett.
Right. Yeah.
But that's because they demand their 99 cents to push it around.
Right. Exactly. So at the end of the day, I think there's a lot of assumptions here at this point during this conversation. You watched the show the previous week, you learned some stuff. Now you're actually in the mist. You've technically, quote unquote, won, but you're still hearing things and not actually seeing things. And I think that's the big separation.
I think another issue here is, if you remember the movie True Romance, when Christopher Walken's like, we got a game of show and tell. You're telling me everything and you're showing me nothing. I think when Bruce and AENT went into this negotiation with clean hands, Diamond was telling them everything, but showing them nothing.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And as he and the company and the lawyer started demanding to see actual things, they realized, oh, you guys are full of fucking shit. We're out. Bye. And, that comes down to, I think he walked in thinking, oh, we did this and we do this and we're going to buy this and we're going to do this and we might have to change this and we might have to change that. But hey, this is what we've done. We've done it before. And then all of a sudden things changed.
Right.
All right.
Then I'm also curious, I don't think it was on, it's in here. Maybe it was. The stuff he's getting to distribute, is he consigning that? Is he sending them back, the CDs back, what doesn't get sold, or does he buy all of it and then? Did you ever get into that?
We didn't get into that, but I would assume, and yes, I understand what happens when you assume, that if he is dealing with Walmart, he is dealing with people who want to be in Walmart. And as Jesse and I finally got Brian to understand, Walmart doesn't write you a check when they make an order. Okay. Yeah. Walmart pays you after it sells. So why would you go on the hook for that? So what I think, because they had this $100 million line of credit that got increased because of this purchase, that they had $100 million float. So let's just pretend you make Red Dead Redemption 3, okay, and you want it at Walmart. You make it, you send it to AENT, AENT sends it to Walmart. Walmart cuts the check. If something happens in the middle of everything, they've got $100 million to float for whatever that is. And as that check comes from Walmart, they peel off their percent, send it to, the AE Games or whatever, and everybody's happy and all the money is flowing.
Right. Yeah, and I want to add one thing on the Walmart. It's not deliver, sales, paid. It's delivered, take the returns, the damages, then we pay you the difference. So there's 3 steps there. I'm almost thinking that there was a perception that this was a turnkey business. That's the only thing I can think of, is they thought this was a turnkey business, that's all you had to do.
Yeah, no, and that is the problem with our industry, is outside looking in, you cannot understand. So let me get this straight. The publisher makes a comic book and they send it to the distributor. The distributor has to then sell it to 1,200 retailers. Then they have to ship it to the 1,200 retailers. Then they have to wait for the money to come back from the 1,200 retailers before you could peel off your percentage. And then there's damages involved, and UPS doesn't ever pay those damages. But that is not how you would sell Diamond. You would sell, oh, hey, all people who are interested in our bankrupt company, we take in millions of dollars in product, and we warehouse hundreds of millions of dollars in product. And then retailers, they send us hundreds of millions of dollars a year. And then we make this amount of money at the end of it. Oh, that seems legit. Oh, wait, that sounds like a real company. Okay, cool. We'll pay $80 million for that.
Yeah. And keep in mind, AENT is a COD only company.
Right.
They don't provide terms at all. So I think at the end of the day, they went in with the mentality of a turnkey COD business.
Yeah. But I don't think we talked about it for months.
Right. Yeah. And when Brian asked him about independence, he doesn't know the difference between Marvel, DC, Image, and Independence.
Right.
He's just thinking as a whole, straight across the board.
Well, and it's not just that. Later, when we talk about the $33 million that retailers owe, they were definitely looking at that as a liability that they were going to send collection agencies after.
Right.
Yep. All right, here we go.
We want to sell $20 packages.
I'm gonna
higher ASP.
Send it back just a
That's
second.
the challenge, because the labor cost and the freight cost just sucks all the profit out of it there. It just can't work. You have to make them CDs in 5, just not enough volume.
And if we can do it correctly, that's a big deal. That's a positive.
From everything I've read and what I've been hearing, what I physically saw, is there's just not enough volume, for the amount of labor involved. We don't like to sell $5 CDs and $5 DVDs because we can't make any money on it. Right. We want to sell $20 packages. We want a higher ASP. That's the challenge, because the labor cost and the freight cost just sucks all the profit out of it there. It just can't work. You have to make them. We kind of have a rule. We call it the 95-cent rule. If we can't make 95 cents pushing around our warehouse, and that we have to make a minimum, because it's what it costs to move things through and have people handle it and deal with the return and all that. And it may be that if you're trying to, so it's $5 and now you got to sell it for $6 and make your 95-cent rule. Well, that's a pretty high gross profit there with it. But if it's a $15 item, we can live that's 95 cents there. So that's the strategy, because we kind of look at there.
Yeah, there you go. Like you were saying with Emmett, it's hard to justify that with a comic book. I don't know, a $5.99 comic book. So
yeah, the problem is that they have the volume, right? If they're selling to all the Walmarts and all the and even some little guys, because you can have and they have the volume. They don't need to make a lot of margin as long as you have that kind of volume.
Yeah,
and you can increase your volume by allowing the people that are buying. I didn't even see any like volume price breaks. Like, oh, if you buy 100 of this item, we're going to give you another this off or that off.
Right.
So,
yeah, I'm kind of confused on it a little bit because everything's labor adjusted. And, lower sales means lower labor. So you come in and you say, listen, guys, we're then cut XYZ hours. And we're also then, not only we're then cut, we're then make it more efficient, right? There's a reason why at Amazon, you walk around with your pacer with you that tells you how many steps you're taking a minute, right? Because they got to make you more efficient. And every step matters. So I think if they went in and just labor adjusted everything, they can make a tremendous amount of money. Again, if your goal is to make 95 cents, that's your golden rule, 95 cents, then it doesn't matter the dollar amount that you're selling. Right? Because you're not saying percentage wise, we got to make 25% on every item. That's the difference. But if you're saying, I just have to make 95 cents, but cost $2 cost, the book is then cost $2.95. That retailer either buys or they don't.
Yep.
All right. Yes.
Well, and that's what I was saying. I think your website's.
No, go ahead, Dennis.
That's what I was saying from the beginning when Larry started bitching about things and other people were like jumping in and saying, this is ridiculous. The industry has to decide, do they want that warehouse carrying their products and caring for the industry? Or do they want the monkey fucking a football that is a lot of this industry?
That warehouse is fucking full. You ain't putting shit in that warehouse.
Well, I'm sure he's got a room back over there. He's going to put comic books in. Well, no, but what I'm saying is this is an efficient system to the tune of $1.1 billion. The best that I've heard, the best Diamond ever did was 700 million in gross sales in the last 20 years. So I don't know. I mean, we're clearly not privy to those numbers, but you know what I'm saying?
They
there's a difference.
They were privy to those numbers, right? Because they went into that room,
yeah,
got
they
all
would
the
have
data.
to be.
Yeah.
So he had a way that he could transform what we were doing. And like Jesse said, if DC wanted to stick at a $2 cost to the retailer, and AENT went to DC, said, hey guys, we're cool. If you want to do your $2 cost, we got to put 95 cents on it, and we have to offer it to retailers for $2.95. And if you want to maintain that 50% margin, can you just slap $5.99 on the cover of every comic that we put out that way? That would have fixed it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's how you level out those prices.
Yeah, it's cost adjustments and labor adjustments. And I think someone at his level isn't actually looking at those numbers. He can't. He doesn't have time to look at those numbers. That's why he hires people to look at those numbers. But I think if you're not getting the numbers from Diamond, or I should say the correct numbers from Diamond, I think that becomes the issue. I mean, full disclosure is a very challenging word, right? Well, what does that mean? Both parties can take that a different way.
All right.
The 600,000 SKUs?
No, it's 325,000. We stock 325,000.
Okay. So out of those, what would be, and this is just, you don't have to have a specific number, what would be the number one moving SKU, and what would be the number 324.99? Immediately look at the chat. Can you but do they even have an interest in carrying small press like at all. And I'm like, he's answering it, Larry. Listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Skew. Like,
Well,
what kind of volume?
Well, obviously we can only sell one a year. That could be that slow of an item. For those type of items, and if it's available, we do MOD. We manufacture on demand. That way, it makes we don't have to have it physically on the shelf. We can make it when we need it there and all of that. But MOD, you always have to. You can't really make it on demand because you got to ship the order the same day, and you can't keep up with the burn to do out there. And then as far as what our number, what our fastest turning SKU, in a week we could easily ship, 100,000 units could be shipped in a week.
Wow.
We just sell a lot of retailers that have to be a Taylor Swift type record there.
Right. Sure. So turn rates, sell throughs, that's high priority for you. Price points, high priority for you. Companies like Ollie's, who's opening up 40 new stores over the next 6 to 8 months, is that an opportunity for you guys as well to get some product there?
Which retailer is that? Which retailer?
Ollie's.
I'm not familiar with Ollie's. I haven't heard of that.
That was kind of surprising.
Yeah.
It's kind of.
Do they carry music though? Does Ollie's carry music?
Occasionally,
not a lot.
Because very rarely does it come up to closeouts, right? Because they're
Right.
mostly
well,
purchasing
because
closeouts.
that guy's in charge of the closeouts.
All right, here we go.
Big lots. It's
Yeah.
kind of big lots on a bigger scale.
Yeah, they do a lot of comic books, stuff, toys.
Oh, I
I'll
didn't
send
know
you
that.
a link. So are you
I'm
looking?
sure my sales guy knows
Do you ever send him a link, Jesse?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
about it. I had not heard of it.
Yeah, exactly. So are you looking to expand with Diamond into those stores as well? Would that be a process that you would look at?
We would be open to anywhere. We're happy to sell our product anywhere in the world as long as the check clears. All right.
Okay.
There we go. Oh yeah.
Right. Look, well,
Yeah.
speaking of that, can we ask you a question?
Sure.
When you guys took a look at Diamond, you're like, oh, wow, we got revenue over here and we got warehouse here. And there's all the good stuff that, we look for in an acquisition. And then you saw that, and we talk about it, that $33 million, accounts receivable. How did that factor into your judgment?
Well,
or
the truth is that if anything is over 90 days, it's considered, if you're dealing with an ABL lender, and it's over 90 days, the likelihood of getting paid is slim to none.
That's so crazy to hear that as being just a normie to hear that,
Yeah, well, and we reiterated constantly about that, but these guys, and apparently Diamond did too. These guys just looked at that and said, yeah, that's dead money. Send it off to a collection agency and we'll never factor that in.
Wow. All right.
So I wouldn't say you would get zero, but you're not going to, there's a lower value put on that. So when you look at receivables and you look at inventory, you look at how fast is the inventory turning. If you have more than a 12-month supply, then anything more than 12 months is looked upon. You got to put some adequate reserves on it to deal with that slow-moving inventory there. Because the odds are you're not going to get 100 cents on a dollar. You're only going to get 50 cents, 40 cents,
Right.
60 cents. So we just have to, as far as how we value or priced it there.
Look at
provide an
Larry in the
asset.
chat there.
What is the
Well,
value?
if they don't want to sell $5 comics, then comics are fucked.
That asset using the proper reserves.
Right.
And
So
now it was an asset purchase. It wasn't a company purchase. So when you purchase a company, do they have adequate reserves on the balance sheet? But they were only selling the assets. So you had to, okay, this is what their cost was. but what do we think the market value of that turning into cash? And that's how you value it there.
Right. So I guess the best, I guess the question we have is, you look at that receivables that is 100 days late, yet they're going to be applying to you to purchase product. Does that come into play, or is it a clean slate?
No, we want to collect on those receivables.
Right, right.
We,
and so would you argue that
it's not forgiveness all of a sudden?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you would be negotiating from day one, saying, okay, how we then pay off this debt.
You're talking about the retailers that owe money to.
Yes. Yeah.
By the way,
Right. That's also.
I have yet, and Emmett, Jesse, tell me if I'm wrong. I have yet to hear anybody say that Universal or SparklePop, Diamond Deuce has contacted them to say, "Where's our money?"
Yeah, that feels like a dead point at this, place where we're at. It's just, write it off.
There's 2 replies you can do to stop them in their place, and I think they don't even want to deal with it. And I think that's kind of where they're at. Yeah. So you can chase old money, or you can move forward, and I think they've chosen to move forward. Listen, they know who owes them money, and they are going to slide it in as much as possible during those conversations about that back pay. But they also want to assure that they do business going forward at this point.
All right. That's also, if you can throw in there, like, how are these, what about these retailers reaching out to create new accounts to carry your products? Because, we talk about all the time on this channel, the pivot, which you talked about, and a lot of comic shops, comic retailers are pivoting into the hippie head shop model that Dennis talks about all the time, the pop collectibles, music, toys, graded collectibles, which is we're going to talk about here in a little bit. I mean, are these retailers going to be able to go through all this for you? Are you going to be talking? Is this a big push?
Well, we're not a bank. We're a distributor, so you have to be properly capitalized to run your business there. Hopefully, now do we help retailers? Like for Record Store Day, that's a big huge event. Everybody can't be writing checks for Record Store Day. So based upon previous history and experience we've had, if we want to help them because we want them to sell more product.
Right. Sure.
And the more they can sell, makes them stronger. And I heard you guys talking about Record Store Day. That's just turned into quite an event. It started out because of the coalitions. They came up with the plan to do it there. And we're an authorized Record Store Day distributor. And if you want to become a Record Store Day store, you got to take the pledge. And the pledge is you'll follow those rules, and you won't break the rules, and you won't sell it online, and and no chain retailers.
Pause real quick. I wonder how a company like this would handle the blind bag street date controversy.
Great question. Yeah.
Because I don't think these guys would put up with any of that shit from one of their accounts.
Doesn't feel like it as of right now, but who knows? Is there any record store owners out there that might have an idea about that? Let us know. Drop it.
Oh, I have heard of record stores that got dropped because they broke the rules. Back
there we go.
10 years ago when they first started the thing.
There we go. So, all right.
Are allowed. So no Amazon, no Barnes and Noble, no Walmart, and all for the right reason, because he wanted to get consumers into independent music stores. And they're probably doing the best they've ever done in over the years, the last 5-6 years. Some of the numbers I hear that they're doing over that weekend is just crazy numbers there.
Yeah.
And,
my daughter and I, 7 years ago, when we were thinking about records, we went into a record store, and they had the incense, they had the pipes, they had everything, but it was a Tuesday. and they had 20 people shopping for records in the 30 minutes we were there. There's no comic book stores that have 20 people floating around. And that's when I was like, okay, there's something going on here. And that's when I had to start looking in. And it all went back to Record Store Day, building this subculture.
Yeah, well, back then Tuesday used to be the street day for music, and then they moved it to Friday just to coincide with the chart date there. And there was a big debate why Friday. You should leave it Tuesday. If you sell out on Tuesday, at least you had time to get it in for the weekend. Now you run out on Friday, you can't get enough replenishment. Well, you know, that ship sailed. We tried to get it back, but it never went back.
Yep. You know, to go back to my technology question, do you foresee universal ordering, whether it be someone placing a Diamond order and an Alliance order at the same time, or do you foresee that being separate?
Pause for a second. Jesse probably should have used a different name than Universal.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
You said Universal?
Universal ordering. So ordering.
It depends where the inventory is located at. So, but ideally, we'd like to all be on the same system.
Okay.
We don't want to have multiple computer systems.
Okay.
Right.
So either.
It's too hard. It's too hard to run the business. As a public company, it's a nightmare.
So you're looking at technically one Alliance page to do all your ordering.
Yeah, our system can handle that.
That'd be awesome. Okay. That's great.
So the idea is, obviously right now there's retailers that have a previews catalog that they have to submit this month for stuff that might not even be available to Diamond through that previews catalog. What would you say to all these retailers out there, you know, kind of crapping themselves right now, going, well, should I do this? Am I going to have to go over to Alliance? Is Alliance even going to carry comic books?
No, I think they should continue doing what they're doing. Haven't changed anything today. It's not even officially hasn't even closed.
Right. No, so just keep going with what you're currently doing, and when the keys get handed over to Alliance, when and if. I'll say if
Bronze and Modern,
then Alliance will come in and explain what the new procedures will be.
Well, let me just say that we need to understand the procedures before we decide what the rules of the land are.
Right.
You know, it's not like it's our way or the highway.
Right.
It's like, what is the best practice and what works?
Right. Do you have any thoughts on how to go about that? Do you plan on, you know, talking to many retailers, asking, you know, putting out surveys and such to all the retailers that are working with Diamond?
It's funny you should mention that. One of my guys, he went into the local comic book store in Louisville, and he went in there and there was a Diamond box there, and there was another box, and he was just kind of probing, asking questions, and he was pretty frustrated with Diamond. He didn't hold back. He didn't hold back. And I was getting updated today by that person today who was telling me everything they were saying. So
pretty interesting. I mean, you know, it's the norm that Diamond wasn't, people weren't too happy with Diamond.
I wonder if they went into that same comic book store in Louisville, if they have a better opinion of the last 6 months or a worse.
Oh yeah, geez, I think that's obvious.
Yeah.
Right. Here we go.
Yeah, I think one of the concerns that I had after this interview, I know who they had conversations with, and it's the same old 10 folks.
Yep. It's the same people that ran Diamond down the primrose path of, you should do this because we're the top people in comics.
Yeah. And they never got to that 50 tier, the 100 tier, that guy in Louisville, hey, XYZ. And I think if they got more streamlined, they get better information of where they were heading. But obviously that didn't happen. So,
well, I think that's also why he watched us the week before.
Yeah.
Because I think he probably was getting one story from this person and one story from this person and another story from this person, and then he listens to us and is like, these stories aren't adding up to what I'm hearing from these guys.
Right.
Well,
Yeah,
let
that
me
gave
tell.
me pause, so I'm sure we should be trying to understand and learn all that. That wasn't disclosed in any way.
Right.
What, they didn't warn you about me in the disclosure?
I was about to say, you better be ready, Bruce. You got Dennis that's already got your email address. You guys are going to be hearing all kinds of good stories. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know all the history. I don't have the tribal knowledge, so I have a lot of, I'm sure I'll be drinking water out of a fire hose here pretty fast.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the comic book world. This is my 43rd year. Dennis is going on 30 plus years. It's all about selling comics. And I know that sounds very generic to say that. And if we get the product in and it's in good shape and it's not damaged and it's on time, that's your winning success there.
Yeah, no, vinyl, we have to treat it like kid gloves because everybody thinks it's a museum piece.
Yes.
Yep.
So if it arrives blemished or damaged in any way, or the seam is split, the customer's not happy and the dealer's not happy.
That's a great point right there that I really didn't think of at the time. I mean, as how important that is, and that anybody shipping comics should be thinking the same way.
Yeah, you would think. I want to make a point out another comment down in that chat, the one on the bottom there. Haven for Heroes. This is the greatest get. Congrats, Brian.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, it was that. I mean, this was a huge.
Yeah, you got to keep in mind this interview is not you could say it's a timestamp interview, but this is a historical interview.
And I didn't think, and I didn't think that people that were watching understood how big it was.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, you got
like 60 minutes, some 60 minutes shit.
Yeah.
And I don't see the negative that 90+% of our industry saw in this interview. But over the next week, we kept getting bombarded with, did you see he said 95 cents? Did you see he said $5 CDs? Did you see and I'm like, yeah. Did you see that this guy knows business and knows how to make things? Did you see that he delivers albums unbeat up in boxes daily?
Right. Yeah. Keep in mind the overall strategy of any business is to provide change and hope, not the comic book business. Right.
No.
We don't want change. If we could go back to calling in our orders and faxing in our orders, I'm sure some of us would still be happy with that.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a handful of retailers that would dust off that fax machine tomorrow if they could go back to the way things were.
Yep. All right, here we go.
Well,
let's talk about that on the toy front.
The fire service is very similar. They don't like to change shit either.
Yeah.
Action figures, Funko Pops, even video games now, all being graded. And one of the companies that Diamond is associated with is the grading company. Do you guys have any plans with that? Is there anything you could talk about with us along those lines?
Well, it was kind of something that was all or nothing to kind of get everything all together. I am familiar with what CGA does. I understand what they're doing out there. It's pretty small in the overall scope of the operation there. We didn't visit or check it out or anything, so we have a lot of learning curve and catching up there on that. I think I heard from somebody who was telling me, I read in one of the magazines or something that CGA just kind of screwed things up from a grading perspective. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I read.
There was a lot of controversies, and I think it was all pre-Diamond purchase. But I could tell you, and just, from my own personal experience, I just submitted a bunch of stuff to Heritage Auctions to sell. They submitted everything through AFA, which is under that umbrella, and they came back certain grades. And AFA, for some reason, and they just had a huge giant sale where they sold somebody's entire Star Wars collection that was all AFA graded. AFA is the gold standard for collectible toys.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was slightly mismanaged, but I can't complain about the prices I got, so I'm not going to. I heard a lot of different people, plus or minus. There's a lot of startups that popped up around that time. Actually, one of them's down near your corporate offices, CAS. But AFA has maintained this high standard, and I think you have a secret crown jewel in that. And when I was talking about crown jewels, that's what I'm talking about. Is there's these little things that mean a lot to that little community that I think if you guys can extrapolate that, you can turn it into something better.
I see.
Yep. Okay. Well, another one of those things being
hey, Brian, stop for a second. So
I'll be right back.
Okay. Judge, I have a question. From what I understand, I was told this was all or nothing. That's probably the most important phrase in his mind, him thinking he was getting it all or nothing.
Well, and you remember there was a lot of stories like right after this interview, the company that had a high bid for AFA went out and announced it. And then they had to withdraw that because he bought everything.
But he didn't. He didn't get Overstreet.
Well, but that was broken off before, and that was just a lot of assumptions that was included in it.
Right.
So between the little birdie and the January bankruptcy, I think there was a lot of breaking off that happened that we're still not getting a clear timeline on.
Right. Yeah, I'm very interested in, because, I come from corporate and we are trained very well in these type of conversations and these type of meetings, that there was never I don't know, let me find out and I'll get back to you moment.
Right.
It was really I'm going to answer questions off the cuff, even if I don't know the answer. And I'm not saying that's a negative. I'm not saying it's a positive, but in his position, I would think there would have been moments where he would say, let me get more information and get back to you.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate for him for a second. He literally that morning. So once again, this story broke Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. AENT is the winner of everything, the whole tamale. He put his dick on the table and said, we'll pay $80 million plus whatever the extras are to make sure we're guaranteed for everything. I don't want to piecemeal this out because I'm sure he's bought a company in the past that hid something in a company and said, okay, well, you buy that thing and we'll take this thing. And wait a second, I thought we were supposed to get that. And I think he's accustomed to just saying, we want everything. Everybody walks away and we own everything. And then we do with it what we want.
I don't think that was what I was saying. I think the questions that we were asking him direct in our conversations that really didn't deal with bankruptcy. How are you universally going to combine both companies as far as the computer goes? It's not really a bankruptcy win question or how you won, but some of the questions that we did ask that he didn't know the answers to, I was very surprised that he still attempted to answer that. In this phrase right here, he said, I think I read something about.
Okay.
Well, did you read something or you think you read something?
No, I think he probably Googled CGA and probably heard a couple of the people bitching in a magazine story about something. And he might have read one of those stories about the video gaming, shill bidding and all that stuff, or who knows?
Yeah.
But
I'm just saying,
there are enough controversies out there that he probably actually did read something about it.
I'm just saying most people in this position will detract in some way. He is
I think they're going to teach it in bankruptcy law that anybody in this position from this point forward doesn't go on a podcast.
Right. Exactly.
Now we talked about Record Store Day. Free Comic Book Day is another one of those things that we here on the Industry of Comics show feel like it had been mismanaged. It's a very important thing to bring new collectors into the hobby, new customers into the hobby, and with very little change can just be a monster. Is that something that you guys plan on looking at as well? So here comes one of the third major points of this whole thing interview that we heard a lot of on this comment, on this response right here.
I have not seen the financials on it there. I guess all the publishers, they provide the free comic books. Is that what they do? And Dynamite is paying, or they're charging for the shipping, I guess, or they're paying for the shipping. I don't know if they are or they aren't.
Yep.
I know that when we were there, it was actually they were in process of doing Free Comic Book Day, and they had debated whether or not they could.
Brian, can you pause it real quick and open up the link that I just shared in our group?
Which link?
In our private chat, here in StreamYard.
Yeah.
Just a little FYI, it is September 2025. And if you want to, just go up there and increase
November
that big image at the top.
Oh, yeah.
They have not updated the website since the purchase. And it's been close to 5 months now since Free Comic Book Day.
Yep.
I don't know if there's going to be a Free Comic Book Day.
Look at what
2023.
What are you talking about? Not having updated it? They haven't updated it since.
Go up to the top. Go up to the top left corner.
Oh, September of 2025. Here we go.
Yeah, it's an update on NECA's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles toys.
Yeah.
And that is the 2025 logo for Free Comic Book Day, which is 5 months old as of today.
Yeah.
So any plan, Jesse, I'm gonna spoil some stuff here. Jesse and I were talking to each other about, hey, if this thing goes through with AENT, we had an idea for Free Comic Book Day.
Yep.
And we were going to present that idea to Bruce. We never talked to Bruce about it. I don't know if you ever talked to Bruce about it, Jesse.
No.
But he and I were trying to, because we wanted to help make those new plans. I actually talked to 2 other people prior to this that are pretty big money people. We wanted to make a bid on Free Comic Book Day, but we were told that the money was already way out past where our skis were going to be.
Yeah.
So we were just going to wait until it leveled out. I actually talked to one of my guys that morning before I even talked to Bruce. And we were gonna make a run for it, because I think that, some people with knowledge like Jesse and I and the ability, and Jesse, we haven't gotten to the topic yet, but the place that we were going to rent was the place whose water pipe bursted.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So, hey, we dodged another bullet. But go ahead, Brian. Sorry. I just think it's interesting that they don't even want to run Free Comic Book Day. We can't have somebody buy Diamond that's not going to run Free Comic Book Day. Well, you have somebody who bought Diamond who hasn't even updated the Free Comic Book Day website right now.
Right. Exactly. And this is another moment where I don't know the answer to that. Let me get more information. I'll get back to you. Comes into play, and he doesn't play that route here.
Right.
Or not, but they decided to go ahead and do it anyhow. That's about all I know about it.
Right.
Well, that'd be very interesting to see you guys' thoughts on that, especially with the similar thing in the vinyl world. So.
Right. So every asset.
There isn't a free record day.
No, there isn't. But
it's
but Free Comic Book Day is meant to bring in customers into those stores, right? And
it's free.
Yeah.
But by giving to people that if it's first time comic, you've never done it there, and there's a way to get them exposed to it there. I get it.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll let me just tack on to that real quick. I and Jesse used to spend, and I still spend about $1,500 a year on the event of Free Comic Book Day. $1,000 for the event, and then $500 for the comics, and then $500 for the event. It can actually generate sales in store of 2x, and then it can extrapolate over a year 4x, 5x if you do it right.
Because they're hooked, yeah. You give away you give away the razor, so they'll come back and buy the blades. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, what it sounds like is the way that it looks like you guys are then approaching.
That is a guy, though, who, with a simple explanation from me and a little bit from Jesse, understood that I'm not going to dismiss. I'm not going to throw this thing away. There might be some money to be made off of this and some way to innovate it. That is not a guy who wouldn't have updated the website for 5 months if he would have been handed the keys in May.
Yeah, this is why I'm going to disagree on you with this. I think he realized what he said in his first statement was wrong. And he was very defiant about, well, there's no free record day. And then he realized, well, we're not talking about records. We're talking about comics. And I think he backtracked a little bit smartly on this one.
Yeah. But I think he's also, this is not a guy who's so closed-minded that he would have immediately closed the Free Comic Book Day website after getting the keys.
Right. And I think he would also realize that, no, Bruce, your company's going to make money on every single Free Comic Book Day sold.
And I don't think anybody explained that to him prior to this interview.
Right.
All right, here we go.
Nothing is really then be a turnkey item. It's a grab it, look at it, figure out how to make it better, listen to some people give you some thoughts, and then you're then push out from there. Is that correct?
Yeah, and also you have to understand that it was not a very profitable business. That's why it went into bankruptcy there.
Right.
If we don't pivot and turn and make it profitable, I'm gonna have a very grumpy bank that we.
You know what's interesting about that comment where he said, "Hey, it wasn't a very profitable business distributing comics anymore, so now we've got to change that and pivot." I don't know. That's the other thing that so many people have told me, where I've been sitting at a convention or on a backstage on a podcast, and I'm talking to all these people within the industry, and I say, "Hey, would you get into the distribution game? Would you maybe buy Diamond or create a distributor for comics?" And 90% of the people that I asked said, "Nope, it's a losing game. It is not something that you can make money on anymore."
Even when it's uber successful,
yep,
the other shit you do loses money and you break even.
Right.
Or you make less to prop up the Larrys of the industry that demand X, Y, and Z go their way. And you better make 3 successes if Larry flops.
Right. So how much did Marvel make on AF-15 when that book came out?
Not probably little, because
probably 2 cents an issue times a million.
Nobody knew about
let's say,
it. Yeah.
Let's say 3 cents. How much does Marvel make when someone sells one for $1 million?
Nothing. Well,
Nothing.
They actually, I couldn't say that. They probably make a decent amount of money in word of mouth. Like, hey, did you see that this comic sold for this much money? Really? You know,
Right.
Spider-Man
So
comic?
social value.
You're wrong. I think you're both wrong. You know where they make their money? Facsimile AF-15.
Ah, there you go. Yeah.
There you go. So
$4.99 cover, shiny for $9.99.
Stop messing with my analogy. You just screwed it up, man. Damn it.
I think they made a lot of money off of AF-15 being
So,
$1 million.
Prior to the stupid word facsimile, which is called a reprint, but so the whole point is, I think that's what he's trying to say, is we only make a certain amount, and whatever happens afterwards is not material to us. And so we're only focused on what we are making and nothing else.
Well, but he also talks earlier in the interview about how if he has a SKU that sells out, they print more and they restock.
Yeah.
So
you
he's
cannot
dealing
do
with
in
a
comics.
Right, which is not what happens. And he understands the perishable nature of a comic book and that business model is not going to translate to, the new Taylor Swift album.
Right. But are records evergreen for his business?
Well, I mean, the fact that he still knows the Stairway to Heaven code after 50 years of doing this, I'd say, yeah, he understands that Stairway to Heaven is an evergreen and that no matter what the format is that's in demand right now, he's going to sell Stairway to Heaven. He's going to sell Abbey Road. He named his first company after it. I think and his first company was 10 years after Abbey Road came out.
Right.
So he understood something that I think, once again, our industry did not understand, that AF-15 is our Dark Side of the Moon. You better have an AF-15 to put in 3,000 stores at any given time if that's what a comic book is looking at. That's the way my new concept stores are run. I always want to have Venom #1. It doesn't matter if it sucks. There's plenty of collections for me to buy to make sure I have a Venom #1 on my wall. But I better have a Venom #1 when the Venom fan comes in and has $5 to spend or $10.
Right.
All right. Grumpy shareholders and grumpy employees. So yeah.
Yeah. And what's funny is the first thing I read about you guys, you're capital light. And so capital light means you're really looking at the numbers every day. How do you look at something like a diamond and still be capital light?
When you say capital light, what do you mean by that?
You have low levels of debt. How you then get that debt paid off real fast?
You only can pay off debt by generating profits.
Right.
Free cash flow is all you can do, and we think over 4 or 5 years we should be able to get it all paid back by then, and it's not going to happen overnight, but we think that's to be the time frame there.
Wow.
And then we have debt. If you look at our financials, we had at 12/31 we were borrowing about $70 million.
So Jesse and I have a little side bet going here, and I think you told me that you were going to be able to hint at what the number was, correct?
No.
So you had 70
I'll say if you're
million.
getting warm or getting cold. How's that sound? All right.
Yeah. You had 70 million in debt, and you had 120 debt ceiling, and then you added another 40. Where between that and that, I said you paid about 50 million for Diamond. Jesse, you were at what, 40?
40. Yeah, 40, 41.
Okay. Just say who's closer.
Dennis is closer.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, which ended up being what?
80.
There you go. Are we surprised? No, we're not.
Yeah.
We're not, especially with that Dennis look.
Well, and my thinking was that Universal just wanted Alliance, and they valued Alliance at 39, and they were the stalking horse bid. They put it right out there. Well, we're taking 39. Let's go. You were going to have to.
They were very aggressive. You give them a lot of credit.
Yeah, no, and that's the way they wanted to do it. But then
not only were they very aggressive, you guys. So here's something we need to get into real quick. Not only was Universal very aggressive, there was something else happening there. I'm still saying there's something else there. They were more than aggressive. There's no way that they should have walked away with.
Well, within the next week of this, some stories came out that Diamond upper management did not want this deal to go through, and that they wanted Universal's bid to be accepted despite the fact that it was lower.
Mm-hmm.
I say there's still something that everybody's missing.
Oh yeah. Here's the thing. That's why we had to put this back out.
Property, if like if they didn't rent the property where the warehouse is, that size of a warehouse in Maryland, it's probably worth 40 or $50 million. If you were going to dump that warehouse.
Well, they didn't. The warehouse they had is in Olive Branch, Mississippi.
Oh, okay.
So the giant diamond warehouse that Diamond built from scratch was, I believe it's on leased property, is what I was later told.
Yeah. That's
so
what you
they own the
bringing up.
building, but they also own a lease for that area for a long period of time. So I do wonder if Bruce at some point had considered, okay, well, AENT will take over that warehouse and we'll put records in there so that we don't have a warehouse in, Kentucky and in Florida. And, we'll have an extra warehouse there and that'll hit more spots. But I do know for a fact that Universal taking Diamond Games, thank you, Heidi, they are using Alliance Games warehouse for Universal distribution. They just had an open house a couple weeks ago where it was at the Fort Wayne Alliance warehouse.
What was that for?
For Universal's new comic distribution company, which is also ironic because Fort Wayne, Indiana is also Discount Comic Book Service and LUNAR.
All right, here we go.
And the rumor was that Todd was going to show up. Todd McFarlane, one of the biggest names in comic books, was going to show up and kind of try to add Diamond to his, corporate interests at McFarlane Toys. And I think there were and you can feel free to say no comment, but my thought is everybody wanted a piece. Nobody wanted the enchilada.
No, there was two companies that wanted the whole company.
Okay.
There was two bidders, and then as you said, Universal only wanted Alliance. That's correct, and there was somebody else that wanted just Diamond.
Right.
So they partnered up.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. Exactly.
But they were nowhere near your bid, so they were basically said match it or.
Everybody was close in the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah.
It separated. One had to drop out, and then we were and it was down to two, and then we became the leader in the end.
That's all very important information there too. What he was just talking about, that we'll look back on in the future when all this comes out in 2 years. We'll have
the
to
other reason I think there's
again.
something else that nobody sees, because he said they were doing, their business model was terrible and they couldn't, it went out of business because they didn't know how to do it. Why is it worth $80 million? There's
because of the hold on. At that time, because Alliance Games, Diamond Games, had a $10 million contract with WotC or I forget the numbers. They had $10 million in sales of WotC with a contract that got them more. And they had a $20 million contract with Pokemon that got them more. Do you understand what I'm saying?
right.
So, and much like what he said, he was buying the relationships. So if you take, and in business, it's not just how much you make a year, it's you extrapolate that out. So if the spreadsheet set, Alliance sells $10 million worth of Magic or WotC a year. Well, you extrapolate that out 3 years. That relationship is going to be worth $30 million over the next 3 years. He's got a 5-year plan. That's worth $50 million over the next 5 years. Pokemon's worth $20 million. That's worth $60 million over the next 3. That's worth $100 million over the next 5. All the other things, Topps, all the other companies. You add that up, you multiply it. But once they figured out, okay, WotC's gone, that's $10 million this year alone lost.
That's where the insider stuff ends up really like flashing to me, you know?
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I personally think that the concept of paying off the debt in 5 years is selling off as many assets in Diamond as possible within the first year to 2 years. Let's not deal with this. Let's get 2 million here. Let's get 1.5 million here. Boom, boom, boom. Then they start to find out none of the numbers are matching to make those companies worth it. They also realize no one wants those assets that they're going to want to sell. And I think they start to realize this is going deep into the rabbit hole, deeper into the weeds, and being able to, because he's already admitted that $33 million, he's most likely not going to get. That's gone.
Yep.
Right? So, yeah, he might be able to draw $1.5–2 million from it. So that's a loss leader to him. Then he starts looking at the assets and realizing through all the documents and full disclosures that, well, these don't exist at the value that we assumed or saw that they exist as. So now this immediate funds that we're getting back and selling assets don't line up either. So I think at the end of the day, how many times have you put in a bid, you know, and found out you won the bid for a comic book collection, whatever, found out you won the bid and you weren't even the number one bidder. You're the second bidder.
I'll do one better than that. Brian buys a sealed case of product for a card that he wants to rip, and then finds out when he gets the product and after he's already been charged, that card isn't even going to be in this set. The company screwed up and the quality sucks. Yeah. And I think that's more of what this guy, he was like, oh, okay. They got a 10 million contract here, or they make $10 million off of this a year. They make $20 million off of this a year. We can amortize this over 2 years and we can run this just like they did, but better and more efficient. And if we gain 10% more than they gained, wait a second. What? Yeah. No, what? Yeah, no, fuck this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the notion that you're going to have 1,300 retailers in the comic book side, 7,500 people buying on the Alliance side, all coming to you, and then realizing you're not. I think there's a lot of things going on that I think they started to add up in the negative direction.
Agreed.
Right. Here we go. Where was I? All right. Right there.
The leader in the end.
Do you foresee, so you have about 3,000 people that sell your product as far as retailers go now, correct? Is that about right?
Yeah, independent retailers, definitely.
Do you see, where do you see the crossover? Do you see the 2,000 comic book stores now selling music? Or do you see the 3,000 music sellers selling comics?
Well, I would say that everybody likes to stay in their lane, what they feel comfortable with.
Oh, okay.
But we will certainly offer things like that to them, encourage them, and they're free to order what they want. You know, our people have a lot of different products to offer to those stores that they. I think if you're a record store, you're always going to be a record store. You're not going to. I don't know if they're going to gravitate to comics, but they could gravitate to other things there. We'll certainly offer it and promote it there.
Right.
I think you hit. I mean, I think this is going to be amazing, because one of the things that this YouTube channel is built on is nostalgia, and we talk about nostalgia being the most dangerous drug in the world, right? Because you get that dopamine hit from that nostalgia. You see a toy from when you were a kid, you hear a song that your mom used to play when she would clean. It's that nostalgia. I mean, and it can cause you to drop big money on those amazing things from when you were a kid. And there are people spending big money these days on video games, vintage video games, of course, vintage vinyl, vintage action figures, all the way into to everything you can think of. Physical media is now being collected for nostalgia purposes, and it really, a lot of these things don't even have to work for their original intended issue, which is very interesting because in the vinyl world, they want to be able to listen to these albums, where in a lot of the collectible world that we're seeing nowadays with, people that are 30 to 50 years old, where they're into these, VHS collecting, toy collecting, and they'll keep them in the boxes and not even play with the toys, and even go as far as grading them. They'll keep the VHS in the boxes and never even care about playing it on a VHS player because they see that, they like it in a nice condition. It's a nostalgia hit for them. How important is nostalgia to AENT?
Yeah, I mean, we're leaning into be stronger in the collectible space there, and what can we do? We're usually been kind of known as a one and done, get it in, ship it all out, and be done. But there is value in hanging on to something and then offering it later on, which we've never done that before, but we are trying to do that to see something. We're just trying to see if that could lead to higher value down the road.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that is a lot of people in this industry, the collectibles industry. That's how they do things. Dennis is a big proponent of that. I mean, he's got a movie theater warehouse full of collectibles that he doesn't. His big saying is, right, I don't have to sell these things. I'll sell them when I want to sell them. And because they're collectibles, and we talk about it all the time in the world of comics, everything gets hot. It's cyclical. It'll get hot and cold, and it'll come back around sometime and it'll be hot again.
And Brian, don't talk about my little movie theater when Bruce is sitting in front of that giant freaking warehouse. I can't even come to that orgy. Okay.
Do you, speaking of nostalgia, has your team talked about Overstreet at all? The price guide of the comic book world? Is that something that we'll see?
No, we have not. We didn't really have the ability to talk to Diamond folks about anything.
Wow, really? Okay.
We had maybe one meeting, and it was like pulling teeth to get that meeting, and they were being very careful. They didn't want to say anything, get yelled at, and we would ask what we could ask, and we would get, you can't ask that, or you can't answer that, or whatever there. So I'm looking forward to when we can finally all be, on the same side talking and say, okay, now what do we do? How do we go from here?
Well, I got two things. Let's talk about the
pause
staff.
that real quick though.
So at that moment in time, Jesse, even you thought Overstreet was included in this sale, yet we later found out, probably about 2 months later, that Overstreet had already been broken off.
Actually, we found out after the show, I believe.
No, he said he.
No, I was sent a private email that. And I think I told you guys in the green.
Oh, I don't think you did, actually.
No, maybe I forgot. Okay. Anyways, go ahead.
I think one of your press releases said that you're very interested in keeping the Diamond staff on. Let me just first put a plug to my dear friend, Nance Romer, who knows everything about Diamond inside and out. You'd be a fool to not bring her down, and make sure she has sunscreen because she's a ginger.
Where is Nance now, Dennis?
Nance is picked up by Universal and still working in Baltimore. And so she was out there at that Fort Wayne Universal open house. So she got picked up.
All right, good.
But what do you see the value in Diamond staff?
Well, in any company we've ever acquired, the most important people are the people have the relationship with the vendors. That's important people. The people have the relationship with the customers, and if we lose them, we just fall behind. Now, obviously, over time, you kind of learn who the good ones are, the bad ones are. You just kind of see it figured out, and the numbers don't lie. Or if complaints come in or issues, we hope that the sales manager and leaders will, deal with that in the proper way, or make sure we are making the right decisions there. I can't say we're going to go with a chainsaw, from day one. That's not our DNA at all there. I wouldn't even know how to do that.
Right. No, that's good. Awesome. But that's great to hear because
that is great to hear.
Diamond has spent, what are they, 40 years now? 40.
It was great to hear back then, but we all know what ended up happening. So.
Yep.
42 years?
43 years.
43.
I've got the coin around here somewhere. They have kind of cultivated from a lot of retail communities some of the best people to move up through Diamond. and unfortunately, they did pick enough people that helped put them in this situation, though. It's going to be a very hard task for you guys to figure out the wheat from the chaff.
I'm sure we're going to make some mistakes.
Everyone in the credit department.
We just have to get our hands dirty and get involved and ask and learn.
Well, there's something interesting about all this. Shout out to Costa, who says that institutional knowledge can be invaluable. And speaking of institutional knowledge, the Jeppies are unbelievable knowledge in this industry, respected beyond belief. Is there?
Can I just interrupt you there, Brian?
Of course.
When Bruce was, I know. When Bruce was explaining how he started, I literally started to weep a little bit because that's exactly how Steve Jeppy started.
Amen. Yeah.
And I literally was like, oh my God, these guys really are the perfect people to take over Steve's empire.
Man, that hurts to hear. That still kind of hurts to hear, right?
Yeah, especially when you see what the last 5 to 6 months have been like.
Yeah, what could have been. Yeah.
Pretenders to the throne, absurd, just firing everybody at Diamond Toys. Diamond, what do they call it? Diamond Select Toys.
Toys. Yeah.
Yeah. Selling off little pieces that they didn't even give a shit about. Delaying Overstreet till the end of the year, and that I still think is probably not going to happen. There's just so many weird things that it's just like, okay. Yeah. All of this stuff is ruined because the wrong people got, and maybe it would have been worse if Bruce got it. I don't know, but I can't imagine it being this bad.
Yeah, I think when you have a absent owner who has said, listen, I've done this. I've been in the trenches for 40 plus years, plus the years before Diamond, selling in a cellar. He's done all his stuff. Yeah. So his job is, at some point, someone convinced him, don't worry about it. Go watch a baseball game. Don't worry about it. Go sell the museum. You don't need that. That's too much work. And I think when someone gets comfortable being a farer and not getting the numbers every morning, not getting the numbers on Monday, this is what happens.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Yeah. So, what are your? Do you know much about the Jeppies? Do you plan on?
I read online.
Yeah. That'll be very interesting. I would love at some point. We always would love to talk to Josh or even Steve if we ever get the chance on this channel. But Bruce, I would love at some point also to have you come back and hear about your kind of navigating through all of this world, because it's amazing to hear some of the things, like you not being able to talk to a lot of people and kind of going in a little blind on this with the community of the comics community. I mean, you know your business, and you're very successful in what you do, and there was a reason that you guys went out and did this. But it's amazing to me to see the kind of, I'm not going to call it disconnect, but the comics thing wasn't a big part of this at all, it seems. Yeah.
It's not the largest part of it. It's not 100% of the business there.
Yeah.
Bruce, one more thing before, I don't know when you have to take off here. Alliance, what you guys were talking about with the Alliance Games purchase part of this.
Yes.
And I see a company that is so perfectly ingrained with everything I love about shopping at Walmart. Literally, that whole back corner is my second spot when I get there. But my first spot is that aisle up front that one of Alliance Games' biggest competitors is GTS, who also has MJ Holding and supplies that entire front little thing. And there's been a lot of controversies over the last couple weeks, really, about their distribution model. By purchasing Alliance, do you see that also being Alliance Games? Do you see that as being something that you can integrate into your vinyl and your physical media and video game contribution to Walmart, and kind of expand on that and fix a problem that I think the community has really been, talking about lately?
So you're saying that you don't think Walmart does a good job in the collectible space.
Not in the card world,
no.
The trading card world, trading card TCG and sports card industry, which of course MJ Holdings and these other distribution card companies have been, kind of third party filling for a long time. It's been a nightmare, and especially, it's been a nightmare for most companies dealing with the pandemic. But over the last 5 years, it's been a real big deal because the amount of buyers and collectors in both, the comics world and the card world has just been crazy. And even right now, one of the biggest stories in the world of card collecting and collectibles is, the Pokemon distribution and production of Pokemon cards, and it being so crazy and, market scalping, all this craziness where I think if they could figure out how to get that all to run smooth at the Walmart and the Target levels like it was, say, early 2000s, that era, I mean, it would change everything for a lot of these collectors in the card world, because a lot of people just stopped collecting because it became such a pain in the neck to get product.
Yeah.
So are you saying that there was just limited product, or the stock was very low? Or
I'll give you a little ounce of the problem. So GTS owns MJ Holdings, who stocks those shelves at the front of Walmart. They just recently got caught selling through a third party on Walmart.com from their warehouse in Chicago at retail rather than supplying the retailer at wholesale.
Got it.
So, and on top of that, GTS also supplies retailers like me who have slowly decreased our allocations as they've been selling as much out the back door as they are out the side door to us and out the front door to Walmart.
Right.
And so this has really put a giant impact and a giant spotlight on them. And then when I heard this morning and I saw that you're getting Alliance Games, I'm like, wow, this might be a fix to a lot of that as well.
Has Alliance Game, they've never sold to Walmart? They never tried?
No, Alliance Games only sells to retail level.
Independents,
yeah.
Yeah, I saw that on the.
And here's the thing, and hey, I'm Dennis, so you'll get to know me. I stopped buying from Alliance because of the problems that I had with Diamond as a penalty to Diamond. Because I'm like, look, Alliance gives me free shipping. Why can't you give me paid shipping that arrives undamaged? If you don't fix this over here, I can't give you my money over here. So I switched distributors.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you said paid shipping versus free shipping. So
Alliance has free shipping at a certain purchase
certain price point.
Yeah. So if you buy, I think it's 200. If you buy 200 worth of product, it's free shipped. If you buy $10 worth of product from Diamond, it's $25 ship.
$3, it's $25.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. My final question to I'm from corporate America, Nordstrom. That's where I come from. I'm going to tell you the most exciting thing I got, and I would like to get you to talk about it. Tell me about the AENT team. Are they excited?
They're excited.
One more point. They seem extremely motivated even before this transaction happened.
When you say they're extremely motivated, how did you know that? What makes you think that?
Just because when you start doing research and you see the happiness in
the pictures,
your group pictures, and who does group pictures nowadays, right? And, just because when you start investing in a company, you start seeing reviews.
Stop that for a second. You're almost doubting that your team is. Where'd you find that out from? So.
I don't think he goes to his own website, Jesse.
but you have to see your employees. You talk to someone.
I think you're wrong. I think this guy lives on the West Coast. All of those people you see the smiling faces are over in Florida, and he pops over a couple times a year to walk through.
Think as the head honcho, you play that up.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Our team is amazing. I can't wait to see them every time in Florida. That's how you answer that. Anyways.
Well, especially when he sat there and basically said, hey, you got a hold of me through the website. Hey, I'll come on your show because of the websites. He knows the research we've done is the website.
Right.
Well, I'll say this. That's basically the end of the interview. There's a couple more things which you guys will be able to see unedited and none of us breaking it up and commenting. We will drop the full interview just by itself next Tuesday for all the Comics Beat, Bleeding Cool, ICV2, for all you guys that want to check it out and get that full interview. That will be available on the Beyond Wednesday's YouTube channel next Tuesday in place of our regularly live scheduled show, which we will be on our way to New York at that time. So for everybody out there that wants to see, the full interview unedited without us jokers jumping in and talking about, hindsight, make sure you guys go, subscribe to Beyond Wednesdays for all the comics journalists out there if you're not already subscribed. Before we leave tonight, we want to talk about one more topic that is a very interesting topic in the world of retailers, brick and mortar comic shops, any brick and mortar shop out there, and that is how to deal with natural disasters. Dennis had not a natural disaster, but a disaster at his Mall of Monroe spot this week, where a water main flooded.
No, that's not it. Wrong.
This is
wrong
not
link.
it.
That was the one. That's the one Jesse
That's
said.
the return.
Oh,
That's
okay.
the return of Toys R Us.
Oh, sorry. Hold on. That where Dennis had a place flood. Here we go. Here it is.
Yeah. So there's a location in our mall that gets filled every year with the Spirit Halloween. They opened up a month ago at the beginning of September. Everything was going great. I left about 10 minutes before this for Toledo, and apparently a water main busted on the far side of the mall and flooded the Spirit Halloween in Monroe. The water backed up across the parking lot, out the front doors. You can see it goes all the way back. 6 inches of water in minutes. And it came within 2 feet of my back wall of the comic book store, Wonder World. And it came within 2 feet of my storage unit on the other side of the mall. Because it literally filled an entire, that's a Nordstrom level building, Jesse, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I get it. Yep.
And it came within 2 feet of the back wall, and it exploded in the front.
Right. And I think since you're in a mall, your walls should be firewalls.
Yes.
Yeah. So
but it still will seep through the firewall.
Right. Sure.
The water will.
Wow.
Because it'll go through the drywall level.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So you did have some tiny protection there. Again, this is something that in the common sense rules you don't look at, right? If you have your top 1,000 things to worry about, this is not in your top 1,000 things to worry about.
Nope.
And check with your insurance company. Most insurance companies cap collectible stores. They don't pay you what it's worth. They pay you what you bought it for. And you better have a good inventory that has a value and a good insurance company.
Yeah. Yeah, I have antique collectors insurance, so I get full bore on everything.
I use Hanover.
That's too damn fucking expensive.
Yeah, it is expensive, but it is what it is. But natural disasters, acts of God, that type of stuff is something that if you're a good store owner, this comes and it goes. You're not worried about it. It's not going to put you out of business. Some people, some people it's a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
Right. Holy cow!
Give me the check. I'm going home.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and the thing is so I went over and talked to them the next day, and they had a company like Serve Pro coming over. They lost, that was 6 inches of water. Everything was within 1 or 2 inches of the floor. I mean, they rack right to the floor.
Yeah.
They lost the bottom 1 foot of all merchandise in that location. it's all getting scrapped. It's all, wet, mucky. The floors all have to be scrubbed out, cleaned.
Right. Just the mildew alone. You know, any clothes that they have in there, that becomes an issue.
All gone.
Yeah, it's a challenge. I tell people it takes us to open up a Nordstrom store before we even dig the dirt the first time. It takes us about 9 to 12 months to get it done. Get your team in there, get the inventory done, go through all your preps. And when we were opening up was it the Vegas store? Maybe it's the Boca Raton. I can't remember. It's one of the Florida stores, Palm Beach Gardens. We go through our list of 1,000 things. Are we prepared for these 1,000 things? Sure enough, someone sets one of the garbage cans on fire 2 minutes before opening, which is not on our list of 1,000 things.
Yeah.
Right? And you got 700 employees freaking out over one thing. Right? Because you got the fire marshal running in, fire trucks pulling up, and all this stuff. And we open on every single door, all 3 levels. So again, it's how you react. You have to have peace of mind no matter what in the end. The number one question always should be, is everybody okay?
Well,
everything else is secondary.
There's a little rider that I learned about I did an interview when I was doing my series on opening a comic shop from an insurance agent. If you have an employee run to the store for something and they get in a car accident, if you don't have coverage, either the person they hit or the employee could own your store.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's one that, so I got schooled on that real early. Pre-opening a store, I have all the company vehicles are listed in the corporation. But for me, Dennis Barger, to drive any of those, I also have to have a Michigan commercial license because those are all commercial vehicles. Even, the company van, my car, if I pick up a comic book collection in my car, I have to have a commercial driver's license to haul commercial goods in my vehicle for the company.
Your state sucks.
What?
Yeah.
Your state sucks. My vehicle has to be commercial, but I don't need a commercial license.
Yeah. And so, but here's the thing, that commercial license, if I rent a U-Haul, it transfers over to that. If I rent a Ryder truck, transfers over to that. I rent a car to drive to New York, it goes over to that.
Yeah. Definitely. One of the things, since we're on this topic about employees and all this stuff, if you're applying for a job today, you need to be very aware of when you're accepting that job, if they have the rights to look at your social activity. And if your social activity, for instance, if you go to a bar and the bartender starts giving you a hard time and you say, do you know who I work for? Right? Depending on the company that you signed up for, you could get fired for that. Oh, well, it's off. But you used our company socially. And what happened was now that bartender thinks everybody at that business is like you. Yep. And so there's a lot of things you have to look at as a new business owner this day and age. I think it does start off with that insurance of having peace of mind and having the right insurance, and then deciding, like Emmett said, that's very expensive. But in my case, I have a lot of peace of mind, and I'm going to pay that extra $100 a month to have that peace of mind. Dennis will have to make that decision and say, what are the odds of this now happening again?
Yeah.
All right.
What is the security of it not happening again?
Yeah.
I do want.
Let's put it this way, Jesse. Just a real easy answer. I already had a meetup time this week with the new mall management.
Okay.
And we're discussing our renewal for 2026 and beyond.
Yeah.
This will definitely be on that.
Yeah, I would show up in scuba. Yeah, that's how I would negotiate.
Hip waders.
Exactly. I do want to talk about, before we leave, the J. Scott Campbell thing I sent to you, Brian. I think that's very important. I want to make people aware of what is going on in the comic book community and all collectible communities. Don't just buy something from Johnny, who is technically representing J. Scott Campbell. Do your research, folks. This is very, very big.
Yeah.
So explain what's going on here, Jesse.
Can you read that? It's just a quick read. It's better that you read it instead of me.
Just surmise it.
Yeah. Basically, someone is selling scammed product. It's official J. Scott Campbell items. It is not.
So J. Scott Campbell says, it has unfortunately come to my attention over the past couple of days that there's an ongoing attempt to scam some of the people, specifically fellow artists, who may also be following me on social media. If you receive an email or inbox message that resembles this, referring you to an invitation to participate in a quote-unquote art exhibition, please disregard it and report it to social media provider, if applicable. Thank you, and I apologize to anyone that's been affected by this. Be safe out there. And here is the thing that's going out. Says, hello, I hope this message finds you well. I wanted to take a moment to express my sincere gratitude for the unwavering support and encouragement you have shown me. It truly means the world to me. I'm incredibly thankful for each and every one of you. Your energy fuels my passion, yada, yada, yada. If you would be interested in participating in an exclusive event, please don't hesitate to let me know. I would be delighted to provide further details and answer any questions you may have. Looking forward to the possibility of collaborating with you. Best regards, J. Scott Campbell. So it says here it's looking for 20 talented artists to showcase their work at an event he's putting together. So
so he was saying collect all this items,
all this free artwork.
Yeah, free artwork, and just sell it. Thinking that they're teaming up with J. Scott Campbell. So technically, it wasn't fake art that was being sold. It was actually real art being sold by a fake person pretending like they're J. Scott Campbell. So you just got to be careful out there, folks. It was just reported that in England, I believe it was, a guy was walking around to tables collecting table fees for the next year. He was caught.
Yep.
So be very careful out there, folks. Very, very tough out there.
Amen. Amen.
Pickups.
So let's go through pickups really quick. Go ahead, Jesse. Look, you got yours first.
Okay. All right. So I got this great Beetlejuice, Shipwreck Beetlejuice in.
Oh, nice.
Yep. So we did get that in. That was very, very awesome. We're excited about that. And then I've never seen this before. I picked up this Mad Does Nothing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I'm not quite sure where that came from. I looked it up. It is a licensed product, so very, very cool. Doesn't have a year on here. It's
barcode. It's barcode, so it's 80s or 90s.
Okay, there you go. Registered trademark of EC Publication. So very, very cool there. And then I picked up, Brian is helping me on these G.I. Joes.
Oh, cool.
So I have the full
Animals.
set.
Those are KB exclusive reprints of a Toy Fair line that got canceled.
Yeah. So I picked up that whole set. I did get Buddy the Elf. And then I just got another one of these at a garage sale this weekend. It was just $1. So that was kind of cool to get one of those for $1. And then my biggest pickup was this little guy. So I was very excited to finally get that. I'm actually going to keep that because I never had a Hulk Hogan action figure before.
All right.
There you go.
Emmett,
And I did get a Miss Piggy, Let's Make You Sick lead glass.
It only makes you sick if you lick the outside of it.
Well, then don't lick the outside of it.
Yeah,
exactly. It's Miss Piggy. What do you think?
Emmett?
Yeah, I picked up today. I picked up a video game collection. This is only little pieces of it. There was a lot. Let's see if we can get this in there. This is Haunting Ground. This is about a $400 PlayStation 2 game.
Wow.
Now,
And
do you know this before
not
you buy
sealed.
it?
Yes.
Did you know? Okay, you knew it before you bought it. Okay.
Yeah. This is Resident Evil Outbreak. Let me see what I can do.
The other
here.
direction. There you go.
Yeah, there we go. File 2.
Sealed.
This is sealed.
Yep.
This is about a $200 game. Then there's some fun stuff that's not as super expensive, but this is Genesis True Lies. I didn't even know that they had a game called True Lies from the movie. It's complete. It's like about a $60 game. And then this one's a big Sega one, not super huge, but pretty big. This is Shadowrun. And this has a really nice the cartridge is in really great condition. The book's not super great, but so this is about $100 game. So, and then like every game the guy had was banger. He had a couple of like $15 games, but like the majority of them were $50 and up. And then he had a Switch, an Xbox One, a Sega Genesis, and a PSP. So,
you know, I have a question on games like that. Are you you don't test them first? You just buy them.
Buy them.
Okay.
It takes too much time. You're really cutting your margins in. It would, like, the guy had like 40 games. You know, it would.
So Jesse,
I'd have to hook up every system too.
With everything disc related, I bought out an old video store and got a state-of-the-art $1,000 disc resurfacer.
Cleaner? Oh, nice.
So the stuff to make it work when it runs out costs still like $200 to replace the wheels and the juice and all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
But with a good resurfacer, you can fix almost every game.
Wow. Okay.
If it's not, I always check for cracks. If it's cracked, you can forget about it.
Always check for cracks and disc rot.
Yeah. That's where
everything cartridge based, I have found 80 to 90% of cartridge based games can be cleaned with rubbing alcohol and a Q-tip to the point where they will work.
And if it's a very valuable game, you can retin it.
Yes.
You got to find a guy that can do it, but I know one. So if it's a super expensive game and it's not working, I'll still buy it because one, if you clean it, it might work. And two, worst case scenario, you just retin the things. Video games are a huge thing for me now.
Right. What is disc rot?
So I just contacted him.
Okay.
There's a million YouTube videos now. It's really come out in the last year, but the pressing process of making the discs allowed air to come into the layers and start to corrupt the data. And all it has to do to kill the disc is just puncture that data level between the two plastics.
Usually if you look at the disc and there's like it's flaking off the paint, that's usually a sign of disc rot.
Or if you see like a creeping mold into the data from the center or the outside edge, that's also disc rot.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, super, super profitable, especially if you can buy it by the box load, and not even, if you're not going to go through it. There's a price chart. I use price charting on there's a website, pricecharting.com, and you can look up every single video game and it'll give you the average of what it sells for in loose, complete in box, and new. And it's aggregating all the sales online. And then I pay 40% of that.
Yeah, what a great piece of information right there, pricecharting.com. So here you guys go.
Yeah. It also does Pokemon and fucking
trading cards, comics, Funko, Lego sets.
Their app has a scanner, but the scanner's not great. Like all the scanners aren't great, but
yeah, here you go. Look at that. So,
and I think the pricing on the sports cards is. I really only use it for video games because I've really checked them back and forth to eBay prices, and it's pretty spot on. So, and it's a place where people can go. They call on the phone. You know how many people call you and go, "What will you give me for this?" And they start going down everything they have. I just tell them, go to price charting. Well, you add it all up, and then fucking take 40%, and that's what I'll pay you.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Dennis, you got any pickups?
Yep. If you could go to our group chat on Facebook, I'm sending you the images now. So this was like a big week of buying. And then the last one is this is just today. It was kind of crazy. The new store is just turning over all kinds of rocks in Toledo, and I'm just buying it all. So first up, I told everybody we bought our first collection last Tuesday, but I hadn't processed it yet. So nope, not that one. That was my van is still full of all that shit. Go up to the first picture I shared. Right up one more. There you go. So this was a collection of 2 short boxes. Definitely a speculator back in the day. 3 copies of First Weapon X, First Aliens, all the first Alex Ross stuff. Aliens, Predator, Terminator, everything from those Fox universes. Plus 2 short boxes of, solid $5, $2 comics for our wall. Great stuff. Then after that, we had the launch day for Pokemon, and I got a couple boxes of that. And Emmett, do you have the pack shoots there at your store?
Yeah.
So you have to. I don't put a full pack out for the customer to have in front of them. I put an empty pack, so that if they steal it, they're stealing a piece of plastic, not an actual pack. So I opened the box and I just ripped one pack to put in there, and I pulled the $300 card from the set. Then I went to the other store to do the same thing, and I pulled the $300 card from the set.
Jesus.
So you can see back there is the $300 card that I'd pulled earlier, plus the one I pulled for the second one over here.
Score.
Yeah, I sold a shit ton of that Mega Evolution.
So then one of my buddies posted this. He said, "Hey, I want somebody to come and pick up all this junk." And so I still haven't gone through all of it, but I bought it all. And if you look at the truck, it literally filled my van back end up.
Yep.
You know what's funny about this, Dennis? Someone joked around and they said, "What do you do with the totes?"
Oh, I sell them.
And I sell them now.
Yeah, once a year I have a giant tote sale.
Yeah. Holy cow. I did not. Little things like that has really changed the perspective of how I do buys as a whole.
I've got one more, Brian. If you pull up the last one I sent, this was the best stuff. No, I don't know what that is. That's not me. There, yeah. So I bought a Red Lines collection.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And if you look, the top like 4 or 5 cars up there are all like $50 to $100 cars.
Right.
And then the next one is right as I was leaving the store. I actually stayed like 15 minutes over. That's why I was late getting onto the show, the pre-show. If you look to the next picture, should be there. There we go. Then this Pokemon collection came in, and it's got $10, $20 cards, little low grade. Yeah. Okay. But it was a really decent collection of 10-year-old Pokemon cards that people want to add to their collection.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That's a sweet spot for Pokemon, really.
It really is.
That 10-year, because a lot of the people who jumped in recently when it got really hot,
they got nothing from that era.
Right. They've got their old cards from when they were kids, they have the new cards, but that 10-year-old, 15-year-old, oh man, such a sweet spot. I love when those come in.
And so that was
They fly out.
Yep.
They sell like that.
So that was my pickups.
Yep. Hey, Brian, if you can show that picture that I sent. This is just for people that sell comics in general that tend to look at a Exo Man of War number 040 and say that's $1 book. All right. Well, that's sold for $9. And I know it's not, doesn't sound like a lot of money, right? But don't always assume that just because you see something in a dollar bin that that's its value.
Yeah.
So I just think it's important every once in a while to remind people that dollar bins, I know people do it to fill their collections, but there's always some cool books if you know the history on it. Full chromium wrap book, very, very cool book by Valiant. You know, you can make a couple extra dollars on it.
Oh yeah.
So for me, I rarely can sell those books in store. They really are an online. And I have a buddy that's all his business is. He has, 175,000 items online. So I'll pass them on to him. And and everybody's like, well, you let him make all the profit. Yeah, but he shares books with me and I share books with him. And it's just that, we have different business models and we get different sales.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's very important that our business understands that there's no such thing as a bad book. All books are good books. It's just, are you excited enough? Do you have some knowledge about that book that you're selling?
Can you find the person that wants it?
Yeah, exactly. And that book started off at $1. 3 people bid it up to $9. And at the end, someone got that book for $9. So fantastic. It's part of history. You got to keep in mind, folks, when people say, well, the 90s are 30 years old.
And not just that, the 90s are some people's first comic books.
Yeah.
Because it was very prevalent.
Dismiss that. That's their AF-15.
Yep.
The bottom line is nostalgia.
Nostalgia
is the most crazy drug out there, and as soon as you hit
dopamine hit,
you get that dopamine hit, like a mainline straight dopamine hit. My dopamine hits are G.I. Joe, Garbage Pail Kids. Like if I see G.I. Joe and Garbage Pail Kids, I am excited. For all these new kids that are just now getting their first, decent jobs and they have some money that they can spend on stuff. It's what we've been talking about today. Pokemon, the 10, 15-year-old stuff. All this 90s and 2000 era comic books and video games. That is what you're chasing. And nostalgia lasts forever. People who are in their 70s love that 50s era stuff, the Beatles records and Beatles scrapbooks. My mom just gave me like 5 or 6 scrapbooks of all her Beatles stuff. And I'm going to sell those scrapbooks. You know what I mean? And they'll sell because people love
Oh my
stuff.
gosh. So probably when I live in Seattle, I've got maybe 1999. I go to this mall and there's a whole bunch of people in this mall. And this lady walks up to me and she goes, "Do you scrap?" I'm like, "Are you asking me if we want to fight right now?" Like, no, do you scrap? And she pulls up these 5 scrapbooks, and it was a scrapbook convention going on.
And it was Brian's mom.
Yeah, exactly. And it ended up being Brian's mom.
Wait a second. How old is Brian?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Anyways, very, very cool.
Have you guys read Skin Breaker?
Yes.
I heard it's amazing.
Yeah.
The art is unbelievable.
It took 3 years to make, right?
They've been working on it for 3 years.
Yeah.
I thought he said 8. When I saw the thing, I thought he said he'd been drawing it for 8 years.
3.
No, who's the writer is
Kirkman.
Yep.
And David Finch is the artist.
Finch.
Yeah.
The art is amazing. The story is good. And I love how Kirkman he's letting the art speak for itself.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
one
so-
episode, one issue in, so we're not going to know
Yeah.
story wise.
But apparently Kirkman basically hired him all those years ago and said, "Yeah, no time frame. I want to see what you do." And then Kirkman filled in the story after the art was done. Is that what I've heard, Brian?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's some of that. Oh, Clutch says 8 years. You're right, Emmett. Clutch says 8 years.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
And
wow.
yeah.
Is
Well,
this-
when you look at the art, it's insane.
Is this a Skybound or is it Image?
Skybound,
Skybound.
And I just want to throw this
which is
out.
Image. Yeah.
Dave lost his son this week, Dave Finch. So I just want my thoughts going out to him and his wife,
Oh my
Meredith.
God.
Yeah, it was tragic. So best wishes going out to him on that.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, him and Meredith, great couple.
Amazing couple.
Yeah, very welcoming. You know, it's and you know, our community, no matter how you think is large, folks, it's a very small community. And the reason why I say that is a lot of people choose not to be in our community. And that's fine. If you want to go and sell at a convention and you want to get in and get out and you don't want to go to the dinners and you don't want to be in handshakes and you don't want to be in photos, there's nothing wrong with that. But our community is extremely small. And what happens is you find out real fast in your first 5, 6, 7 years that you pretty much know everybody or have an essence of everybody. And that's the very thing that I love about this community. It's not where's your store? No, it's, hey, if I see you at a convention, I see you online, I see you at a social event, I see you live streaming. That's part of our community. So if you're in this industry, try to be part of that community.
Was this his son right here?
No, I don't think that's the.
How old was his son?
Okay. So the picture I saw that Meredith shared was a much younger picture, I think.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah, she's been grieving
Yeah,
for
go
the
to
last
Meredith.
10 days.
Page. Yep.
That's awful.
Yeah. Great animal lovers. They really support the community. You know, so be part of this community. If you have a great opportunity to do anything but join this community and be part of it, come on the show, right? We have asked a ton of people to come on the show. If you are a store owner out there, we want to know about you. We want to know about your community and what.
And if you're thinking about buying a multi-tens of $million company, come on and
yeah, exactly.
torpedo the shit out of that deal.
Yeah, exactly. Come in here. Listen, that is, we can say, okay, that's one of the most important deal. Well, it could be the most important deal in comic book history, right? But I think the most biggest thing you learned is do not go on a show until the paperwork is signed. You're walking into that new building. You're introducing yourself to your new employees. You have a game plan, and then you say, hey, beyond Wednesdays, let's come on in.
I honestly, I think the fix was in before the judge banged that gavel and said AENT gets it. And there was so much subterfuge going on. It was going to get torpedoed one way or another.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it ended up the better way for.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think the blessing in disguise is tremendous here. You know, you're not making a $50 mistake.
Yep.
Had
we never interviewed him and had the judge not, maybe it would have gone through the next 3 days like we were told. But because they figured out a way to put something in the gears and stop that from happening, and then something else, and then something else, and then eventually it was like, okay, you know what? We're out. This and this is totally not adding up. We're out.
Yeah, and I'm very interested. I didn't realize in that interview that there were 2 other companies that were bidding with them.
It was the Universal and SparklePop. That's what he's talking
Yeah,
about.
it was,
Yeah.
and they joined
Those were
together.
the
He
two
said
that- oh, okay, because this
You
was
walked away
yeah,
for like
that's-
20 minutes.
Yeah,
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 but
that-
he said there was two that were interested in the whole shebang.
yeah.
Universal and
It might have been
SparklePop,
uni-
and then he said they teamed up.
No, but SparklePop didn't have the money to buy the whole thing.
Yeah, he said they had to team up in order to do it, and then one dropped
Right.
out, which was I forget which one it was that it dropped out
Sparkle.
of it. Yeah, Sparkle, and then Alliance came
They
in,
came
and
back
then
when Alliance,
Dynamic, and then not Dynamic. Geez,
and they got it for less than
Diamond.
50. when it
Diamond
was all said and
wanted
done.
it to go to Universal SparklePop. So, anyways, that being said, you guys, thank you for hanging out with us tonight. 3.5 hours. Great show tonight. What do we have coming up this week? Tomorrow night, you guys, we have a very special show. You guys, the way that we've created Beyond Wednesdays and created the channel and everything, when it comes to these big conventions that are happening, New York, San Diego, MegaCon, the 3 weeks before those cons, you will most likely always see some really good pre-sales for variants that you won't be able to get if you're not going to the cons. You'll be able to get on Beyond Wednesdays. And that's how we do things over here. So tomorrow night, we'll continue that. If you are a fan of Sveta Shabina and Monkey Mouth art, do not miss tomorrow night's show, as you will have the ability to get some very amazing covers. Only tomorrow night, only if you're watching live. That being said, we're going to go hang out backstage for a little while, talk to some people, and call it a night. Join us tomorrow night. Thursday night, I'll be back selling comics to continue the effort to get to New York Comic Con. I've paid for my hotel. I've paid for my plane flight. We got to pay for a little extra money. So if you guys want to get some great collectibles at cheap prices, come join me Thursday night on Whatnot. We'll see you there. That being said, everybody, I want to give a moment of silence for the David and Meredith Finch for losing their son, which is a horrible thing. Much love. Thoughts go out to everybody out there that is fighting in any way, shape, or form. We love you guys. We'll see you guys soon. Adios.